In the middle of the night or early Friday morning, depending upon where you are in the world, a group of experienced comics professionals get together to examine and instruct about the art form that they love. That's great comic artwork on Comics by Night, Fridays at 5 a.m. Eastern, here on the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com.
What was that? This is not a charade.
What a crowd, what a crowd. Once again, we have made it through Hump Day. Another week in the books. We are rocketing towards the weekend. I can't wait. My son has a basketball game tonight in Kentucky.
In Kentucky.
Kentucky of all places, if you believe that or not. Here. So it's so weird being so close to Kentucky that we could just go there for a day trip. It's nuts.
Can I have a enlighten the poor Latino moment?
Sure.
What is Hump Day?
Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Middle of the week.
It's the middle of the week.
How long do you get over in your work week to get to the weekend?
Nice.
Yeah.
We can move on now. Thank you.
Hump Day.
Yeah.
It's Hump Day. Last week we had a great show with Eric July. Non-controversial. But believe it or not, still controversy came out of it. I got a couple of how dare yous. Interview a guy I don't like. I just try to be really reasonable with that. I think that anybody that has success or finds success in this industry, we should listen to. See what they're doing. Maybe it'll apply to you. Maybe it won't. We do have some interesting things coming up this week to talk about that I think, gleaning from the conversations we've had and some that we're going to be having, might actually help us be better at making money. There's nothing wrong with making art and making money, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Don't tell Vincent van Gogh, but did you know we pronounced that wrong here in America?
It's not Van
What?
Gogh.
It's not Van Gogh. It's not Van Gogh.
What is it?
It's Van Gogh.
In golf?
Van Gogh, that's how it's pronounced.
Ooh. Okay.
My entire art school education was a lie.
Yeah, as long as it was
Yeah.
American. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think off. Yeah. Yeah. Troubled man. Troubled man. Great artist, died poor. Died poor. You don't have to do that, though.
Unless you're allergic to money.
Well, it is itchy. Smells funny. Right? Next week, we're supposed to have Chuck Dixon on this week, but he had a family thing happening that he's traveling this morning, so he wasn't going to make it back in time. And so he will be with us next week, and we're going to be diving in to the friggin' amazing career he's had, find out what things were like for him back in the day, how they are now, and all that good stuff. Oh, welcome. Oh, we just got a super chat. Let's make the bird dance. Thank you so much
Make that bird
for
dance.
for the Thank you for the generosity. Generosity. We'll try it again, folks. Thank you for the generosity. The Whole Cron Records, welcome here to the show. It says, can't watch the stream live because I'm on the clock. Oh, I understand that. Jim and Ernie are here with me, and we just wanted to say, hey, hope you all are doing well and have a great week. Thank you, we are. And hopefully you'll be able to catch this in the playback. We've got a lot of fun news to talk about today. I think it's gonna be a really good time.
Fun news this time, not bad news.
No, it's interesting news. Interesting news this week. Very interesting. Randy, how was your week, man?
Crazy as ever. That's the only way to describe the week, I guess. So a lot of stuff going on with the family, and got a little bit of commercial work done. I'm actually started lettering the Shadow Kingdom book, which was something I've been wanting to get to for a while. I sent you that story for the Out of Obscurity anthology. Yep.
And we're sending off Alice in Chains.
I got a package. Yeah, I got to send to you and a couple of files.
Yeah,
that you need. Get those to you. Try to get those to you today.
My printer, whose machine went down, his machine's back up. So very excited.
Very excited.
We'll be able to go back to using him. So very good news for us. Yeah.
Whiskey,
how about you? How was your day? Your week?
Well, it's good. Spent a lot of time offline. Just spending time with my fiance, watching some movies, cooking delicious food, and then the rest of the week was exploring different avenues for advertising and stuff like that, and getting into new groups and being like, hey, I exist. So meeting lots of new people.
Yeah. Hello. Someone over here has a pulse. It's always nice to make new friends, isn't it?
Yeah.
Eric is joining us today. Very seldom do we get an Eric sighting, but the creator of Dreaded Dinosaur himself, and that very well-known wrestling comic book artist. And how many wrestling books have you done now?
As far as books, the only completed book is Roddy Piper, but British Bulldog is 13 pages away from being done.
How many total pages is that?
I'm in the home stretch for that, and it's a 58, 60-page book when it'll be done.
Nice. How long does it take you to do a book that long?
Well, unfortunately, because of doing cons in the past, it takes a normally long time because I got to pay bills. Those pesky things that come in the mail or used to come in the mail, they just leave your bank account now without you noting it. So yeah, it would take me, maybe a year to do a book that size. But now I'm in a much better flow. I'm not doing very many cons this year, especially with my car breaking down over the past week. So yeah, it's going to be basically just productivity.
Yeah.
Finishing up Little Mermaid as well, and I should be done with that by March. That's my goal. Awesome. And have Achromatic Chronicles Green for the illustrious Drunk 3PO on my deck. So
awesome, man. That's great news.
Cool.
Keeping busy. Eric's always
very
busy.
much so.
Pedro, how about you? What's going on, man?
Going insane with the fishmonger. He's doing overtime today with the noise.
Wait, you got a fishmonger up in the mountains too?
Yeah, there's several. And this is
everywhere.
the new one. Yeah, this is the new one. and I need to see his face so I can hunt him down. But aside from that, my week has been amazing. Just working, going along, working on Waivers and Kaijus, and hear that? Do you hear that?
Not really.
No, actually, we don't hear that.
Okay, that's cool. He's far. Okay, so yeah, working on Waivers and Kaijus, doing animation for our fellow indie creators. So yeah, we're done.
Awesome. Let's go welcome our chat, see what we've got in the house today. We got Frederick Lamont in the house. Got to get up early if you want to get the bacon. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. There's our good friend Russ Leach, comic book black belt. Bacon, bacon, bacon. Mad Ruth is in the house. More bacon, bacon. I love the bacon. Johnny says, "How dare you, Luke? Hojo, how dare you? Welcome, guys. Get out of here." Frederick's also, "How dare you? How dare you? Oh, you know what?
How dare you?"
Yeah, I was wondering
Exactly.
when was it going to come out.
Mindy Wheeler's in the house. Welcome, Mindy. Good to have you here today. February issue of Comics Illustrated just went live. An article on FMC is in there. All right, we'll have to check that out, guys. We'll have to check that out. Burning books, censoring creativity, shutting down free thought. It's all the same. Grow up, people, and see that you've become the thing you despise. Chumps. Yes, we have. We've become the thing we despise. Good morning. This morning, Nicholas Gear's in the house. He just launched a campaign over on Fund My Comic. We're going to take a look at some of those this morning before we head out today. And then we got Gordon Goodbrother. Good morning. Gravelly Crew accepting Pedro. And he gave us a little fishy face. Thank you for that. Do appreciate it. All right, guys. We've got some fun stuff coming up here. Let's get right into the news, shall we? You guys into that? Let's get into some fun stuff. Oh, here we are.
Uh-oh.
Rut-row. That is right. Diamond cancels its 2024 retail summit.
Oh no!
My. Diamond.
Well, if they can't make money on it, it's got to go.
We've got to let it go. As distributor sales conference fades in favor of trade association events, Diamond Comics Distributors has canceled its 2024 retailer summit as the distributor sales conference fades in favor of trade association events. Diamond had announced at its San Diego, which is Spanish. What is it? Is French for a whale's vagina.
Yeah,
San Diego.
indeed. Santiago.
Actually, I believe
James
it's,
Santiago,
San
mademoiselle.
Diego. That's funny. I get distracted by the word San Diego because of Anchorman. I can't help it. My bad.
Hamalana.
Diamond had announced at its San Diego Comic-Con retailer lunch last summer that the event was being postponed from its originally planned February date to avoid conflicting with the Comics Pro annual meeting. And in its announcement of the cancellation, Diamond said, "Our team is committed to finding alternative ways to engaging and collaborating with all our retail partners, including seeing many of you next month at the upcoming Comics Pro annual meeting in Pittsburgh, and hosting our annual retailer appreciation luncheon at Comic-Con International, San Diego in July." The distributor sales conference for retailers in the comics business dates back as at least to the early 80s, when Russ Ernst Glenwood Distributors began holding an annual event in Las Vegas. Diamond added its retailer seminar around 1984, and Capital City Distribution picked up the mantle in the late 80s, hosting increasingly large annual events that peaked in 1993. Capital City held its last event in 1995, and Diamond Comic Distributors began holding its annual retailer summit in 2000. With the exception of COVID-related cancellations, that began a string of distributor events for retailers that continued until this year. It was
retailer.
Yes. It was perhaps inevitable that the Comic Distributor Sales Conference fade as distribution fragmented. 5 of Diamond's largest publisher clients have moved their primary distribution from Diamond to other companies, including most recently Image Comics. We know they just went to, I believe it was Lunar. Yeah, Lunar.
Yep.
Reducing the roster of companies providing financial and programming support for Diamond events. I believe this is the first of many things to go for Diamond.
Like I said, if it ain't making you money, why are you doing it?
The fragmenting of comics distribution has coincided with a more active Comics Pro under current president of the board, Jen Haynes. Haynes has promised the biggest Comics Pro event ever this year, with the president of Marvel Comics and franchise Dan Buckley as a high-profile keynote speaker. Ooh, Danny Boy. All 3 of the comic distributors, Diamond, Lunar Distribution, and Penguin Random House Publishing Services, have signed on as platinum sponsors of the Comics Pro annual meeting. I don't know what that means, but sounds important. Something of the same phenomenon has been taking place in the hobby games business, where the number of annual distributor events is down. Southern Hobby no longer holds an annual event, as the importance of GAMA, not to be confused with MAGA, expose has grown. It will be interested. I'm sorry, did I say that right? Yeah. It will be interested. They needed an editor. It will be interesting to see if Diamond sister company Alliance Game Distributors continue to hold its long-running annual open house, which was successful last year, along with ACD Distribution, which has had a solid event in Madison, Wisconsin in recent years.
It's always good to have a solid event.
See, I told you it was good news today.
I've been worried about solid events with my doctor recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than a flappy event.
Solid events.
Yeah.
They make a pill for that, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's what she said.
Stuff really helps too.
Right.
So I guess they're canceling these things to prevent the pitchforks and torches.
Well, that would whiskey. It's
Johnny says
probably too realistic for this article to cover.
Johnny says you had to hold in your Diamond rant for a long time in last week's show, Randy. Just let it out now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let it out.
no.
I was worried for Randy.
This Diamond rant brought to you by...
There's such a thing as not wanting to kick a dead horse.
Well, on that note, when do you think they're going to cancel previews and go to online only?
Oh no, that'll be one of the last things to go, because that makes some money. They charge for those ads. They make a ton of money off of that previews. Then they sell the book to the retailers. That's a win-win situation for them. As long as they keep getting advertising, they'll keep doing previews. Once they stop getting enough advertising, then they'll kick it all up online for the retailers to order direct from
they're
over the
antiquated.
net.
They're antiquated, so they're going to do antiquated things.
The whole system was antiquated when it started back in the 80s. Especially insisting the retailers buy 3 months in advance with absolutely no returns. You know?
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is.
They're going to have even more competition now. So ICV2, the website that we're currently reading news from, announces ICV2 Direct, a new platform for sales direct from publishers to stores.
That's crazy.
Ooh, what do you think of that, guys?
Extra paywall.
Extra paywall. Randy, can you read this one for us?
An ICV2 release. ICV2 is launching ICV2 Direct, a new platform for sales direct from publishers to stores, the company announced On ICV2 Direct, retailers will be able to order from multiple publishers with a single account on an easy-to-use platform. ICV2 will process the order, send the orders and payment to publishers, and publishers will ship retailer orders directly out of their inventory to stores. We started working on ICV2 Direct during COVID, and we're proud to finally bring it to market. ICV2 CEO Milton Greep said of the launch, "It's been clear for some time that the supply chain for game and comic stores has a problem with backlist, lesser known, and limited quality or quantity products that may not be as profitable to stock as at distributors. More and more publishers are building the capacity to ship directly to stores. We're launching ICV2 Direct to help retailers looking to source those products in a convenient way and to help publishers looking to connect with retailers that can sell their products. Thousands of stores and hundreds of publishers visit ICV2 for our daily business news, and we're going to help connect them in a new way that will benefit the entire industry. ICV2 currently signing up publishers wanting to sell on the platform and retailers that want to be notified when sales kick off. We're ready for publishers to sign up and load their products into ICV2 Direct now, and we'll open the platform to retailers when we've got an initial product range set," Greep explained. The service is targeting products for game stores this initial phase, with products for comic stores to follow in the coming months. In my 20 years in distribution before launching ICV2, it was a point of pride to give market access to up-and-coming products that weren't easily available elsewhere, Greep said. We're going to build on that tradition with ICV2 Direct. Retailers interested in getting notifications and setting up an account so they're ready to go when sales launch, click there for info. Publishers interested in becoming ICV2 Direct sellers, click there for info.
We might be clicking there for info.
You know, one of the very best distributors direct to the direct market out there was Capital City. It was very, very, very sad to see them go. And we all knew at Arrow that it was literally crippling the market, seeing Diamond become a monopoly. And this, to me, just seems like a great platform, and I hope it's very successful, especially when it comes to getting independent and alternative product into the hands of retailers.
Yeah, when I read this, I was I'm signing Arrow up for this. You know, we got to do this, right? I mean,
and I have nothing but respect for Capital City. So yeah, absolutely.
So it sounds like what they're doing. Like I think the arguments have been pretty clear over the last 3 decades that if you were in the green section, things were going to work out well for you.
They just wanted you to dry up and blow away. That was their story.
Right. And I think that, you know, this is a platform that retailers respect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're going to be more willing to sign on. Hopefully they don't do any political blacklisting for companies like Antarctic Press or things like that. Where
I sincerely hope so too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That will remain to be seen.
Yep.
If it turns out that they do those things, we certainly will be covering it here.
Yeah.
And talking about that. But I think this might be a good opportunity, and I think it's one more nail in the coffin of Diamond, because Diamond now has lost their main distributors. I mean, their biggest clients, their main clients.
Mm-hmm.
And now if they lose a big section of the green section, they lose a big chunk of that
they've disrespected ever since they created it.
Right. And they're trying to make, elevate some of those. But I mean, I know like Cosmic Times comics, the Martin Piero,
Mm-hmm.
his books used to be distributed through Diamond, and he's foregone that way now because it just wasn't lucrative. It's ridiculous. Wasn't making money, and it was hard to keep up with minimums and all of the things they have. But selling direct to customer, man, that to a retailer. It's what we all try to do, and for retailers to have one place to go. I mean, it's really what we're all trying to accomplish. It really is.
Well, this
Welcome,
does make it a lot
Andros.
easier for retailers to go through and order a number of alternative products without having to deal with each individual publisher.
Right. Yeah.
So I can't help but see this as a good thing. And like you said, it's on a site that a lot of the retailers already know and
Yeah.
trust.
I like the idea that it's almost like a crowdfund in a sense,
Yeah.
where they're facilitating the purchase, but now how the payouts work, I'm interested to find out.
Yes.
I mean, I've already got an alternative started, so if it sucks and they are political, I'll just adapt Iron Age to do something a little different, and we can make it a direct retailer from the actual publisher, and have them set up their stuff like that. I mean, all kinds of stuff we can do. But I like the idea that they buy it and then like the publisher will do the fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense to let each publisher take on those risks themselves. They're already handling the risk.
Yes.
So it's nice.
And if there's like I said, a central outlet there where they can take the cost of the book and the shipping and then turn that back to the publisher, that's only a good thing.
Yes.
I think,
exactly.
and they would deserve a little slice of that for being that kind of service.
My biggest question and concern would be, just like all the other platforms out there like Webtoon and Global Comics that serve up, whoever signs up, are we going to get lost in the shuffle? Is Arrow going to be buried, on the 10th page of the whatever the search results are? How are they going to serve up individual publishers?
That would be the next question. Yeah.
You're going to be advertised, or we're going to have to pay advertising rights in order to be seen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to consider with that still. So.
Well, obviously they've been working on it for a few years, so they might have already worked some of them bugs out. I hope they have.
Yeah. I'm sure there's going to be advertising involved. They're not going to do this for free.
No.
I'm sure there's going to be some kind of a fee involved.
Yeah.
Probably a lot less than what Diamond offers. But I think getting into it is going to be interesting. This is exactly what Hojo was thinking.
What's
it going to be like to?
There's so much help that they could do if they have a level playing field.
Well, it is,
and an impartial, and they're not gatekeeping.
Yeah, I think it is going to come down to it being more advantageous for creators to be under a banner publisher,
mm-hmm.
like Arrow or whatever. I think it's that's how it's going to be. That's my anticipation anyway. All right, moving on to the next article. Here we go. Full year 2023 Circana Book Scan Top 20 Adult and Kids Graphic Novels.
How many of those you want to bet are Marvel and DC?
All right, let's place our bets now.
They give them a special category, maybe?
Before we get there, Marvel
just
and
so
DC,
they can be listed. Say what?
Before we get there, let's place our bets. Eric, how many are Marvel and DC out of the top 20?
I'm going to say 1 to effectively 0.
Okay. All right, for the whole year, 1 to 0. Mm-hmm. Pedro, what do you got?
I like blood, so 0.
0, going for 0.
Mm-hmm.
Whiskey, how about you?
I'll give him 1. I'll be generous.
1? Randy?
At most, 1 of each. Yeah.
All right. I'm with you guys. I think 4 at max. I think maybe 4. Give him the benefit of the doubt.
Jim O'Reilly's
Jim.
in the
It's
house.
Good to have you here.
Gordon, Good Brothers
chat,
in the house too.
Chat, let us know. What do you think? How many? Mad Ruth believes it's going to be Image and manga.
Manga.
Manger.
Manger.
They're adult graphic novels, so Scholastic's out of the running, right?
Yeah. Scholastic is
Well,
out
actually,
around
that's the
this
most adult. That's the most
Right.
adult.
That's more adult than the other stuff.
Yeah.
So as in general the case with our monthly charts, the top 20 adult graphic novels list for the full year is also dominated by manga. And the top 4 manga titles as roll call of Viz Media, first volume. All right, so we got Viz, Demon Slayer, Volume 1.
Kimetsu no
Chainsaw Man.
Yaiba.
Look, the Turtles, Last Ronin, number 2.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Chainsaw Man, Spy Family.
Another manga. Another manga.
Berserker,
Jujutsu Kaisen.
there's a
Another
number
manga.
6.
Uh-huh.
And, oh, look at that.
Chainsaw
There's
Man,
no
Spy
Marvel and
Family.
DC.
My Hero Academia.
It is all manga, and Bill Waterston's in there. The mysteries, hardcover.
Yeah. So
Bow to my Latino prediction powers.
So here's what's funny about that. So they have given it its own
Special
own
category.
category
Oh,
for,
like a short
superhero.
bus?
For
Like a short bus
superhero.
category?
Yeah, the short bus category for superheroes.
Nice.
So even with that,
Oh, no.
even with that, no Marvel and DC.
Oh, no.
It's Chungong.
Yes.
Solo leveling.
This
Yeah,
is top
that's
authors.
Korean.
This is top author. So now we have to go to top superhero. They have to give it its own
They've
Oh, that's all I
ranking.
got a special bus for the
Finally.
special bus.
And
Man, I mean, that's, that he's got to show up somewhere.
the Turtles.
We keep whittling it down here. Eventually, we'll be able to
Turtles
include
are at the top of that. Tokyo Pop has number 2. We got Watchmen, the
Watchmen,
2019
finally.
edition,
Yeah.
finally up there. Sandman
a book from
1.
1983. What is that? 40 years ago.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
A book is old, almost as old as I am.
A book from like 35 years ago. Sandman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another Ninja Turtles book there. Then we got Year 1 by Frank Miller. That's an older
35
one, right?
years ago. 40 years
Yeah,
ago.
Batman 1989 hardcover.
Yeah, well, okay.
Here's an Alan Moore, The Killing Joke.
There you
Deluxe
go.
Edition.
Oh, nice.
Really good story, by the way. If you haven't read The Killing Joke, do yourself a favor and get on it. Spider-Punk, Battle of the Band.
Spider-Punk.
Spider-Punk.
Spider-Punk. Huh.
Yeah, that book could be a grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, this is sad. Yes, it is very sad.
Yeah, dude. Like, is there like another category for like new?
Look, V for
New.
Vendetta is number 12.
Like an IB section at a cancer ward or something? Like
Book
new
nobody's
or
talked
something?
about in the last decade,
Yeah.
I'm sensing a theme here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look, Stan Lee.
You've got Tom King on there for Supergirl.
Oh,
Is
boy.
that Tom King being a broken clock, or should we really applaud him for actually making a list somewhere?
Let's applaud him for making a list. Let's be positive this morning. Yeah.
Had to
Way to go,
grind
Tom.
down
I
far
appreciate
enough
you.
to get him on
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Look,
I'll give
Stan
him
Lee
a
made the
gold clap.
list.
Oh, there you go.
Stan Lee's been dead for how many years? And he's still
Didn't
on
he
the
die
top
like
20
in-
list.
He died in that Ant-Man, right?
Though I got to tell you, that Penguin collection's really good. Penguin's done some
Oh,
excellent reprint volumes. The Spider-Man, the FF, the Black Panther. I think they've got one out on Avengers. It's all really good reprints. The Black Panther book especially is
Of
excellent.
course, they know how to sell books.
Yes.
They know how to sell books. And so, guys, that was last year. It's not. I think we're seeing that really the money is.
Elsewhere.
It's Viz Media
Of course, you're not seeing numbers here either
is owning
on there.
sequential art storytelling in the United States.
Mm-hmm. And whose fault is that?
Exactly.
Oh.
Hicksville says Tom King's Supergirl is getting adapted to the next movie, so he lucked out on the list. Yeah, I think so.
That's actually got to go through yet. That's still in kind of a limbo.
You
Just like
wouldn't know-
Tom King was working on the New Gods film too before it was shelved.
Oh, I really want to see it.
Mad Ruth
I
says
was
you
so
wouldn't know
happy to see
Stan
it.
Lee. You
Getting
wouldn't know
the turnaround. Go ahead. Sorry.
says you wouldn't know Stan Lee was dead from his Twitter account. Well, the joke's on you,
No,
Craig.
No.
You wouldn't know I was dead from my Twitter account either.
He's typing from beyond the grave.
What a story, Mark.
Typing from Beyond sounds like a very raunchy movie, but yeah.
some say the entire business is The Walking Dead anyway.
Yeah.
It could be. It could be The Walking Dead. Oh, goodness golly. That's
We've all been zombies since Crisis. So, anyway.
Yeah.
let's go ahead and check out the
Comics
digital
Illustrated.
version of this.
Sports Illustrated.
Comics Illustrated.
Comics Illustrated.
Oh,
let's
Comics
read,
Illustrated.
We're gonna read an article here in a minute. Let's move on to this one.
Nice. Oh, Invincible.
Let's do this one. All right, Randy, can you read that one for me?
Yeah, let me wipe out Mad Ruth here. Sorry, bud. After 2 years of litigation, colorist William Crabtree's lawsuit against Robert Kirkman regarding Crabtree's work on Invincible has been settled. They said in a court filing last week. The case, which was filed in January of 2022, was scheduled to go to jury trial on February 20th. Terms of the settlement were not disclosed. Where's my... I need a cash register noise now. And Crabtree was the colorist on the first 50 issues of Invincible and claims that he is a co-creator of the series, while Kirkman says that Crabtree's contribution was work for hire and that Kirkman is the sole author. While the judge in the federal case had ruled against two of Crabtree's claims, the claims that the certificate of authorship that Crabtree had signed was invalid and that Kirkman had breached an oral contract were to be resolved at trial. Not anymore. It's resolved already.
Sign your contracts.
They got paid. They got paid. Good for them. They got paid, and I hope everything's settled at a satisfactory level for all involved.
I don't know if they wanted money or they wanted something more sexual.
So the lesson here is, if you're going to collab with a creator, make sure it's in your contract.
Yeah. In writing, guys. In writing.
Yep, in writing.
In writing.
Contracts.
He told me. Of course he did.
Yep. In writing. Get it in writing. Especially if it's Kirkman.
This
is not the first time he's done this.
Nice guy.
It's not the first time he's done it. Will probably not be the last time he will do it.
In the middle,
He has a reputation to uphold, guys.
Yeah, the original Walking Dead artist, he languished forever after Kirkman cut him loose, didn't he?
Yep. Yeah.
Yep.
Scratching my head why Image won't reprint The Walking Dead in collected volumes. It's evergreen and they just leaving money on the table. I think that's entirely up to Kirkman. He probably wants a little bit of time for the product to breathe. Here's your buddy.
These Ray of Sunshine. Yeah.
Do I need to put on my Stan Lee voice?
Oh, of course.
The World War II soldier himself.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh.
January Roundup Comics and Science Fiction Awards in the news.
Again?
We're at the point in the year where it feels like it's been winter for a decade and spring is not quite around the corner. It's also the time of year when many of the awards for the top work of the previous year are handed out. From Emmys and Oscars to one of comics' most prestigious international honors, here's a quick look at some of the award-based stories making the news.
This guy smells like pickles. I know.
Maybe that's why I like him.
Agalame.
Fermented.
Klaus misses out on Grand Prix, but doesn't leave empty-handed. The 51st Festival de la Grande Déjeuner held in Angoulême, France.
Angoulême.
Something French, yeah.
Just wrapped up.
I don't
know.
I don't know.
As I noted, jealousy scrolling through my Facebook feed looked to be just as fabulous as in the years past.
I'm not a smart man.
He's not a smart man. This year's Grand Prix went to British cartoonist and graphic novelist Posy Simons, making her the first Brit to carry home the hardware. On one hand, I'm sure this is a worthy winner. She must be for the French to recognize a Brit for the first time ever. Personally, I'm unfamiliar with her work because I don't do any research, and count it as a good thing that after nearly half a century of reading comics, there are still world-class talents I have yet to discover. Congrats to Miss Simmons.
I think Vader's right. That sounded very bigoted.
Yeah.
But it's okay because it's all white people, right?
Yeah,
very, very big of me. It's what it sounds like. Yeah.
Very big. Oh man. Yeah. Oh, the French recognizing a Brit, she must be good, even though she's a woman.
And I've never read her.
She's a woman and a frog. Like, dude, like what the hell? Stop it.
So there's definitely armpit hair, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
There's definitely pit hair involved. And probably some BO.
On the other, well, Daniel Clowes is sitting right there. And if anyone has a body of work that deserves career-capping honor, it's this giant of the American graphic novel, especially in the year he delivered what most people consider his magnum opus. But Clowes did not go home unrecognized. Monica from Fantagraphic Books took home the Five Dwarf over an absolutely stacked long list of great work.
Well, good for him.
There we are.
Awesome.
What on earth are the Hugos
is that like the
thinking?
French? Is that like the French's runner-up?
I have no idea.
That's like the first loser, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the French, the first loser.
I'm not familiar with what the French term would translate into for that award.
I don't either. I'm just making it up. That would be my opinion, fellas.
Yeah.
Another awards-oriented controversy that cropped up this week, was over the Hugo Awards. One of the big prizes for top science fiction work. Russ says how any Brit can be any good at making modern graphic novels.
Right?
Yeah. One of the big ones for top science fiction work customarily awarded at Worldcon. These awards are no stranger to controversy, having been hijacked in a misbegotten, politically motivated ballot-stuffing scheme a few years ago, and becoming a lightning rod for scrutiny from the very, very fussy science fiction fandom community.
Oh, yeah.
23 Hugo winners were announced in October, and eyebrows went up at the omission of a few key works, including Babel by R.F. Kuang, work by author Zhang J. Zhao, and an acclaimed
that was actually quite good.
Say what?
That was actually quite good, Randy.
Oh.
Zhang J. Zhao.
Yes. Zhang J. Zhao.
There you
and
go.
An acclaimed episode of the Netflix series adapting Neil Gaiman's Sandman. All the folks involved have been critical of the policies of the Chinese government, and wouldn't you know it, the 2023 Worldcon is being held in Chengdu, China.
China. It was in China.
Look, we're going to take a break because this whole ballot stuffing thing, my interest is piqued. So we are going to open this sucker up, and we could at least get a reference for what this is.
It's the Three Dog Award.
Over the weekend, another corner of geek fandom became embroiled in political controversy when the 2015. This is 2015, so this is a year before. Year before Trump was running for president.
Yeah.
He announced in 2016. All right, so I guarantee this is white men bad in some way.
Yeah, but he's referencing himself.
Yes, he referenced himself.
Nice.
Hugo Award nominees for Best Science Fiction Work were announced. Yet another example of how social and ideological divisions from the wider world are making their way into fan culture, accelerated by a media environment that profits from tribal warfare. to be talking.
That sounds racist.
Yeah.
Hugo Awards, named after pioneering SF publisher Hugo Gernsback, are a venerable and prestigious tradition in science fiction fandom. Winners are identified on the book covers to help distinguish them from other titles that glut the market. Top stories are frequently anthologized. Because the Hugos are voted on by fans, specifically attendees and supporters of the annual Worldcon Science Fiction Convention, it is possible, though until recently socially discouraged, to mount public campaigns in support of particular works or authors. Though a series of events best captured in this post at IO9, the voting process for the awards became politicized along depressingly familiar lines. A group of fan activists trying to encourage recognition of a more diverse range of talent within the field, reflecting the current demographics of SF readers and writers, launched a successful campaign last year to promote works by young authors, women, and people of color.
Always people of color.
More DEI.
Wait a second. Could this be going the opposite direction?
Their success led to an outcry of an organized backlash by another faction calling themselves Sad Puppies, who nominated and supported an entire slate of candidates in every category to reassert what they saw as the traditional values of SF fandom. Based on the evidence of this year's finalists, they succeeded beyond anyone's expectations by dominating many of the categories. And now the broader, elaborate or electorate is faced with having to support one of the Sad Puppy authors or voting instead for no award.
Okay, so the fans said, "Screw you."
This is early DEI stuff, and
we don't. Yeah, this is early DEI stuff. So the fans said, "Screw you. We're going to nominate these people who we feel represent our fandom, not the forced diversity that you're trying to bring in." And so they were saying, "We're not going to. We're going to give no award instead of give one to your guy."
Yeah.
Wow, that's ballsy.
And an algorithm dispute. Go ahead.
I've been researching the topic around authorship and sci-fi community and stuff for quite a while. A lot of this stuff goes back to 1995 and the science fiction. I can't remember their name off the top of my head. Like their collective authority or whatever. And a lot of this stuff is, I would say, the fault of people like John Scalzi, who've vehemently, basically attacked all their detractors and stuff like that, and then called them every name in the book, like Yahtzees and so on and so forth.
Istinphobes, yeah.
Turkey stuffing is greater than ballot stuffing.
Yes.
There's actually a lot there if you research the sci-fi stuff, because sci-fi leads to a lot of the authorship and like books and all that stuff leads to other media, and then you can kind of track from there where a lot of this DEI stuff goes or comes, or it's sort of it's a thing. There's a lot of stuff there for anybody that's interested.
Well, the Hugos have been an elitist snob fest ever since Sandman won a Hugo for best work way back when Sandman first started, and they quickly went through and changed the rules so that comic books are no longer allowed to be nominated. Yeah.
Even though it's science fiction, doesn't matter.
Because they were ashamed that an actual comic book ended up being the best in literature for the year as judged by the fans.
Yeah. Make them feel like bombs, I guess.
Hojo says, careful. Positing an election was rigged will get you fired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you got to be careful. Be careful with that.
I mean, I'm going to have a hard time firing myself. But yeah.
I'm fired.
I'm fired.
I'm just waiting for the day that Pedro takes over his country as the dictator.
Oh, dude, that's going to be awesome.
That's when we all move.
Yeah. But wait until I do the purge.
Okay.
Then I'll let you know, like, hey, it's
Uh-huh.
yeah, but there's some,
You don't need help with that?
okay. Yeah. I mean, I got the horn and everything like, "Bonk, bonk." There you go. The purge is started.
Oh, here it is.
Okay.
Fan culture sewage leaks.
Nice.
Problems arise when the conflict spreads beyond the cloistered halls of fandom and attaches itself to more general ideological disputes, which are roiling American culture at large. This is pretty easy to do. Questions about the role of identity, gender, ethnicity, religiosity, are everywhere these days, challenging the implicit assumption that straight white religiosity, conservative maleness,
religiously observant maleness.
Religiously, I can't. When you highlight that stuff,
yeah, don't highlight it. You're making
religiously conservative maleness constitutes a social norm against which everyone else is considered diverse.
Yes,
that's on their end.
Yeah.
Experience shows that diversity is something that the majority culture can tolerate and indulge until the moment where it becomes genuinely threatening to the privileges of the existing power struggle. At that point, conflict breaks into the open and can become exceptionally divisive and ugly.
Sure. All right. Well, so we get it. Oh,
blah,
blah,
blah, blah, blah, blah, blah, blah.
Something about Gamergate here. Okay. Gamergate. Are we going to see Comicsgate was just starting in 2015. No, they didn't bring them up because they weren't new. They really hadn't birthed yet.
It's really the start. What I discovered this week, they're going to be calling the PMS mentality among the woke. PMS stands for pale and male is stale.
Pale and male is stale.
That's the slogan that they're throwing around now, the initials of which are PMS. I'm serious. That's the slogan they're tossing around. Just like get woke, go broke, pale and male is stale. So that community is suffering from a bad case of PMS.
Oh. It's definitely akin.
The episode of IT Crowd where the guys learn about Aunt Irma and suddenly all the nerds think that they're having Aunt Irma visit them, and it's just
they all think they're having a
PMS attack.
Okay. So glad I missed that back in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Glad I could see it now. Glad he could reference himself.
That was just the tip of that iceberg too, baby.
A few years ago. It's been almost a decade.
Yeah.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. Yeah. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Woke people getting stupid. Yep.
Yeah.
It is what she said. All right. So the 2023 Hugo winners were announced in October and eyebrows went up.
Nope.
At the omission of a few key works, including Babel by R.F. Kang.
Yeah, work by author Zoran J. Zhao and an acclaimed episode of Netflix series adapting Neil Gaiman's Sandman, which they already hate.
Yep.
The Hugos, that is. All of the folks involved have been critical of the policies of the Chinese government, and when you know it, the 23 World Con is being held in Chengdu, China.
China
has lately produced some great science fiction. And I'm sure there are lots of fans there because there are lots and lots of everything in China. But stop me if you've heard this one already. The Chinese government is not particularly fond of criticism, especially when it comes from expatriates like Cao and Zhao. Or Kang and Zhao. Kang and Zhao.
Cao and Zhao works for me too. I don't know. I've got too much Hoosier in my mouth to be able to pronounce some of these names, man.
You could just go K and Z.
China. K and Z.
That sounds like a fast food restaurant, man.
The organizers adamantly denied caving to any influence in mysteriously striking the works as ineligible during the voting process. But when the actual tabulations were released last week, the lack of transparency earned the ire of Gaiman, who has a bit of following on social media and international news coverage. You would think that readers of science fiction are familiar enough with dystopias to recognize that holding its major event in a totalitarian country, even a really big and rich one, is likely to draw scrutiny to any irregularities in the bestowing of honors to outspoken and imaginative critics of the regime, even if they are just innocent oversights and coincidence, as the organizers insist. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more.
Next year's host, Glasgow, Scotland, recently issued a statement pledging that at the time of announcing the final Hugo ballot, we will also publish the reasons for any disqualifications of potential finalists and any withdrawals of potential finalists from the ballot. That's going to involve kiltwear, I'll bet you. WorldCon Glasgow is pledged that the full voting results will accompany the announcement of the awards on August 21st, 2024.
Oh.
Comics media adaptations get scant award buzz. Well, that's the quality of the rewriting there. No, I'm not fixated on industry awards.
Yes,
Why do you ask?
are.
Why would you think that? Oh.
But for our next stop on this tour of the landscape, I can't help noticing that comic-based media nominations were pretty thin on the ground this year in both the Academy and Emmy nominations. It's not that comic movies were never big award magnets outside of the technical categories, but in recent times, we've seen Marvel productions like Black Panther earn a Best Picture nomination. In 2022, What If got Emmy nods for Best Animated Series and Best Voice Acting, Jeffrey Wright, who fans can get behind this year for the Best Actor nod in American fiction. And it was kind of a scandal that DC's Wonder Woman got shut out of the Oscar nominations the year it came out.
No, it's not a scandal. It wasn't that good.
Sucked. Yeah, that movie was
Truly
horrible.
matter of opinion. Yeah.
Just wasn't.
Oh, you silly, simple bastard.
Exactly. This year, all is quiet on every front, with two notable exceptions. Sony's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse unsurprisingly got a nomination in the Best Animated Feature category, and it would be shocking if it didn't win. But so did another comic-based film, Nimona, which Netflix adapted from N.D. Stevenson's eye-opening graphic novel, HarperCollins 2015. This one didn't get a lot of press, and even some of its book's fans did not love some of the choices the producer made in adapting it. But it is notable that a work adapted from a beloved indie title is getting a nod from the Academy in a year when superheroes are clearly in eclipse. Well, they're just in the quality toilet, is what they are.
Yeah.
Congratulations to this year's Eisner Award judges. Finally, San Diego Comic-Con announced the judges for this year's Will Eisner Industry Awards. This year's crew includes comic studies professor and comic maker Ryan Clayor from Michigan State University. Author, educated, comic maker. Mm-hmm. Author, educated, and former comics editor Christopher Crouch. Retailer, scholar, and exhibit curator Andrea Gilroy. Longtime editor and comics journalist Joseph Illich. Retailer and comics professional Matthias Lewis. And librarian, author, and manga expert Jillian Roods.
Manga expert? How do you become one of those?
Being a dork, that's how.
Lots of Red Bull, I
books.
guess.
Lots
Yeah.
of Red Bull.
And what do they call
The
that?
first
Pocky?
step is to start calling yourself a manga expert.
Oh,
There
yeah.
you go.
Exactly.
Yep. This
what kind of-
illustrious assemblage.
Let's take a second here.
Yeah,
If you were to
please.
pick what kind of expert you would be,
Hmm.
if you were to just start labeling yourself as an expert, what would you be an expert in?
Impregnation expert.
I would consider myself a sequential art historian.
Yes.
Well, you are though.
A comics historian expert.
I think I could take that claim, especially considering I've been exposed to Michigan, University of Michigan's sequential art program, and well, it's almost almost as good as the one in Savannah, Georgia, which isn't very good at all.
I think
the
he meant
word expert.
satirically an expert though. Like if you can,
No, really. It could be satirical or real.
oh, okay.
What would you say? If you were going to, hey, I'm an expert in something, what would it be?
I would have to say that I'm probably an expert generalist.
There you go. That's a good one.
There's just too many little things from like 80s fandom to making comic books to obscure.
You can call yourself an 80s fandom expert. 80s fandom expert down there.
Look at all the crap behind me.
I just hate the word expert. Maybe that's a problem.
I think an expert is something other people call you. If you call yourself,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm a self-love expert.
There you go. It's called an onanist.
Self-love expert.
I'm working on whiskey experts, but I mean,
I'm a coffee expert.
There you go. Yeah, that career doesn't last that long, man. Like whiskey expert, then it turns into cirrhosis. But yeah,
I'm not that complicated. You don't really need an expert.
I'm a snack expert.
There you go.
Oh, I'm trying to think. What kind of expert would I be? I just realized that when I said self-love expert, that sounded really bad.
Yeah. Yes, it did.
Wasn't better.
I didn't realize what it sounded like.
You dating Michigan on the side there?
I was like, oh,
dating Miss Michigan.
I think I'll be a taco expert.
There we are.
Okay.
There you go, taco expert.
That's dirty whiskey.
No, it's not. I meant actual taco.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go out and buy some more.
Okay.
And I think you should too.
Exactly.
Nice.
Tacos, that is.
Tacos. Yeah.
They had a shock jock out on the West Coast that considered himself a master debater and a cunning linguist.
There you go.
I always wanted to, as a side business at some point in history, I always wanted to make a taco and sausage stand. And then you can get tacos and sausage or both.
That is not a joke. That is a natural fact.
The taco sausage? Yeah, I think would be a big hit.
I don't know.
A great name for a pickup bar.
Yeah.
You know what? I know what I'm an expert of. I'm a biscuit expert.
Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit. Taste the honey sauce. Taste the goodness of the biscuit with the honey sauce.
So I actually looked those people up, and like, they are so funny. It's a husband and wife team.
Okay.
And that's what they do. Like, they do these like really goofy things, and I love them.
Nice.
I think they're great. Yeah. If you're not going to be an expert, I think be a guru.
So this is the divine intervention. You could become a spiritual guru on your own, but you just have to tie your shoes, and you just have to know how to eat burritos backwards.
So it's important.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys.
Sorry.
I don't even know where to go from here.
I just read about the Hojo's
stupid story.
Hojo type. Yeah.
That stupid story.
Yeah.
All right, here's bad news.
No.
Yeah, bad news. eBay laying off 1,000.
No.
Citing challenging macroeconomic environment.
Macroeconomic environment. Now, right there, that's some bullshit right there.
It's got to be some Orwellian translation coming.
Get out of here. Yeah.
You know what that means? That means we're making only a little bit of money.
Yeah.
There's only a little bit of money to be made. No one's selling things for a lot of money anymore. So our transactions are.
Well, they're on a platform you can't really trust.
See, you would think it would be micro, right? But in photography, a macro lens is designed to take a picture of something that's very, very small, but make it look big. So you can zoom in. It's a macro. So it's a very tiny scale kind of thing, but a big Zoom, right? So I've noticed this trend where when they're talking about little, like, oh, we don't have, they're using the term macro, which sounds like it's big, but really it's not.
I learned that term from
That's what I tell the
Star
lady.
Trek episode, Voyager, actually, when the virus is like, you ever seen that episode where like it becomes like gigantic and it's invading the ship?
No.
Yeah, it went macro.
Yeah, and then Janeway's talking about the virus in the macro world versus the micro.
Yeah. All right.
eBay's laying off around 1,000 employees, about 9% of its workforce, citing a challenging macroeconomic environment and the need to better organize our teams for speed. Got the need for speed. CEO Jamie, what is that? Ian said in an email to employees this week. That's how they pick
You're
slip.
fired.
They sent an email.
Oh, I got an
You're
email
all
from my
fired.
boss. Email from my boss. What's this? Oh,
The company also plans to cut a number of contractors by an unspecified amount.
Yeah.
Wow.
Our overall account.
A good example of a company that's just been over bloated.
Yeah.
Like trying to be everything at the same time.
Look, I think you're absolutely right, Eric. Why does eBay need all those employees? They're not shipping anything.
Right.
Right.
They're a go-between. The staff at Fund My Comic is micro. We don't need a lot of people to run this thing, and we will never need a lot of people to run this thing. When we start adding staff, we're not just going to hire all of our friends. We're going to hire everybody that's involved themselves and helped out at this time. And when we can afford to pay them, when the money's there, they get a paycheck. We're not going to grow our staff. The money's going to go to people that have been around since the beginning to help to build this thing. We're not going to just add new people willy-nilly. It's the growth is going to be financial for the people that are working. We're going to give them more work and give them more livelihood. That's the plan, not just hire tons of people to do all this.
So
and more so than anything, we would need it because we're kind of boutique. We're one-on-one with people. But
I could see something that's potentially concerning for people that use these sites is if they're laying people off, right? What happens if they lay off people that handle security for the website? A lot of people's credit cards and personal information on that.
Well, they're probably going to lay off. If they're going to lay off people, they're probably going to lay off customer service.
Yeah.
And they're going to automate that stuff like Indiegogo
does.
Yeah. Customer service.
What can AI do?
I'm sorry.
Your answer could be coming 2 paragraphs down from there.
Yeah.
Says there's no word on whether the layoffs will affect eBay subsidiary ICG Player, where a union formed in 2023 is attempting to bargain for its first contract.
Oh no!
I wonder if ICG Player takes up
TCG.
like 9%. ITC or TCG.
TCG, yeah.
Sorry, TCG Player takes up 9% of their workforce.
Might be.
For the first time in 9 months. For the first 9 months of 2023, eBay reported $2.05 billion in net income from continuing operations on $7.55 billion in sales, both increases from the year ago period.
Oh, there you go. Yes,
we're making more money, but we're losing some employees. Union,
Union
Comics says. Yep,
we talked about that a few weeks ago.
Well, every story like this, you have to ask yourself: are these robot jobs now, or is this something the AI is going to take care of?
Sure, they will be if they aren't. Yeah,
and also I think DEI is on the way out. So there's a lot of HR positions that are going to be extinct.
Just wait until AI starts organizing.
Yeah, I have like AI HR. Nice.
And when AI decides to unionize, like the droids in Star Wars.
No, I would love it. Give it like a voice, like you are fired.
More friendly robots. What are you talking about?
AIU. That's what it'll be.
Please fill out Please fill out this form. You are fired. Stop speaking. You are fired.
Just send Zoom calls and emails out to everybody, and nobody comes into work the next day.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who
If
needs
you
them?
approach the premises, you will be shot on sight.
Hojo, translation, we're not Amazon. No one will buy broken laser pointers for 3 figures. No, they won't.
No, there's no AI revolution at all. None whatsoever.
Old C3PO had a farm. AIAIO.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
There you go. That was good, Russ.
I first read that headline as MAGA Comics.
Yeah.
Magma Comics signs distribution deal with DBD. Is that Diamond Book Distributors?
That's Diamond. That's Diamond.
That's Diamond.
DBD. Launching in April 2024 with horror, fantasy, and futuristic heist series. Magma Comics has signed a distribution deal with Diamond Book Distributors for the book channel, and the revived publisher has also announced its first 2 series, both of which will launch in April of 2024. Magma distributed to the direct market by Diamond Comics distributors. The first new series from the relaunched publisher is The Principles of Necromancy, a dark fantasy tale by the writing team of Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. Batman Beyond, Guardians of the Galaxy, and artist Iman Winkle. Each issue will have a cover by Winkle and a variant cover by Jana Heidersdorf. The first issue will be released
fun name.
On April 3rd,
Sounds
2024. Heidersdorf? It's German,
Heidersdorf.
isn't it? Like
So,
Heiderscheid?
then wouldn't that be Jana?
Jana?
Oh, that's right. You're probably right. Yeah, Jana.
Jana Heidersdorf.
Jana Heidersdorf. Yeah.
It's like it's all these Amish people.
Could be
up here.
Swedish.
Have names like that.
Yeah, she could be a Mennonite.
Kind of feel like these guys are treading on my territory here.
Yeah.
My lawyer, his name is Schwartzentruber. And that was almost, no, it wasn't the reason why I picked him.
Okay.
But
it should be in your retelling.
But it should be.
But it should be. So
it's the power of Schwartz compelling.
So as of now, I'm officially editing this story, and that's what I did. I saw the most fun name to say, and then I chose that name. And I chose that.
May the Schwartz be with you.
May the Schwartzentruber be with you. Which is, but honestly, I picked him. He was referred to me as being a good lawyer.
Okay.
By a couple of people, and then my daughter knew his kids from swim, and when I heard the name, I was like, "Well, that's bonus. That's bonus, right there."
Are his kids called like Fritz and Hans?
Well, some of the family is. It's a huge family. Like there's like probably there's like 1,750 people in this town, and I think there's like 4 of these big families. So like there's Graber, Schwartzentruber, Wagler, Knepp, all German, Dutch, all and all from Amish and Mennonite. Yeah, huge families. And so there's actually some Stones, because Stone is also a German name, even though we originated from England. As believe it or not, guys, I did some of that ancestry stuff.
Oh, you sent your DNA to the internet?
No, I
I
didn't
did
do
too.
that.
I was
No,
down
did
for a week. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I did that. No, I did the we did the whole family tree thing, and the Stones were like poor nobility. You know, like how like you can technically be nobility but not have any money.
Yeah.
That was us. That was us. So we left everything in England to help colonize the New World. And we were some of the first people to come over, and the first elected governor, I think it was, in the United States was a Stone. And one of the more prominent Presbyterian ministers that come over to evangelize and settle the area for the churches was a Stone. It would be my great grand uncle or something like that. Can't remember, but yeah. So, but we were Northerners. We've always been Northerners. We fought against the South. When I lived in the South, they said, it's like, oh, so you're part of the War of Northern Aggression. I'm like, yeah, we were Northern aggressors.
Whoa.
And, you know, so a lot of fun, the whole family stuff. But so everyone was like, are you related to the Stones around here? I'm like, I don't think so. I mean, are they Amish? Then no. But there's a lot of Amish people. Like,
I would like to send my DNA to the internet. See what pirate ship my family comes from.
You know, go ahead.
I heard it's all bunk anyways. They sort of they can't identify something. They just fill in random shit.
Man, I would love that though. Like,
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, but there was an episode of The Office where they did the DNA thing, the 23andMe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he thought that he was doing it. He actually had one of the people in the office look up his family tree, and they said, "Oh, you're related to Michelle Obama," which insinuated, he was white, that there were slaves in their family, and it became a whole thing. But I think it would be fun to find out what your DNA is, like what you're made up of. What do you think?
One of the best shows on PBS is Finding Your Roots. Get a major history lesson every time they dig back into somebody's past.
Yeah,
it's pretty fascinating to see, especially because we're such a melting pot here in the U.S. that everybody's got everybody in them. You just have to dig far enough,
Right.
I remember Roots. Great show. Your name is Toby.
I really enjoy watching those videos where these like super woke, like black people that hate white people, the racist ones.
Oh yeah,
they're on there, and then they find out like they've got like Confederate blood in them.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, that happened to the Star Trek guy.
Lamar. Yeah. So he's there, and he finds out that and by name, there's a picture of him. And he's like, I can't believe this. You can just see him malfunctioning as it's happening, right?
Yeah, jaw drop, saucer plates for eyes.
What? Yeah. It's like,
ow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like real life, like just, it's a.
I mean, but it's a sorry.
Hamalana. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of Hamalana.
Yeah, just like.
One of the big things that I'm into as a hobby is this ancient history, mystery history stuff. Mm-hmm. And I went down a rabbit hole of DNA gene studies.
There are a lot of those rabbit holes in
the American Indians section, and the Cherokee are Roman descent. They have Roman genes, and the Creek Indians date to the Greeks in Greece. So we're a lot more less segmented than we think we are.
Yeah.
They fill in the gaps with frog DNA. Yeah. just like in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
Stein equals stone.
Yep.
Yeah. That Stein equals ale.
Well, we thought we were Jewish to begin with, because there was some Jewish people that took on the name Stone and came over, but that's not where we come from.
There's a lot of people with Jewish descent, and they don't know it because of the, quote, lost tribes, because they all migrated and resettled different areas of the world and became completely different human segments of population.
Oh, the most asinine thing I heard the other day was that Jews are a settlement colony, and that they're not really a country. And like, that's like, just Google it. Like, you'll know that they're a country. You friggin' idiot. They're not a settlement colony. Like, people are stupid.
Turns out, my uncle did some DNA tests and stuff. So it turns up I'm like 80% Viking, and then like 0.1% Native American. So when the progressives like come up with like the whole like colonizer, I'm like, I'll take the deed to your house. You can just give it here.
Yeah, I'll say that. If I ever found out that I had even
Hojo.
Even a little bit of African American in me, or African in me, I would immediately demand reparations from all of you. Just so you know.
Yeah, dude. I don't get that reparation stuff. That sounds like free stuff, and free stuff you always end up being bent over. So
It's a work. It's a work.
Yeah.
Life is a work.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather earn my pay and I can look everybody in the eyes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Whenever I asked my parents about our descendancy, I was always told I was a mutt, but I don't think my parents liked me very much. So. No, they told me that we're Zimmerman long enough just to pick up the name, but we're a mixture of everything else. Yeah.
It's crazy. Where did we leave off here, guys?
About 2 paragraphs up from where you're at. We talked about a lot about the strange figure that a doctor cuts in our own lives. That help you hope you never need, and thought what it might look like to turn that character into an iconic wizard-esque figure in a setting bereft of magic. Bereft. The writer said in a statement accompanying the announcement, adding, "It's our character-oriented horror from One Bad Day Clayface mixed with the strange sadness and surreal world building from our Guardians of the Galaxy. But this is also a world unlike any we've played in before, closer to Conan or Berserk than to our creator-owned pop albums like Joyride."
So it's like this and that, but not really, and a little bit of that, but also none.
We've basically ripped off everything you
It's just like X-Men.
X-Men.
Exactly.
Next up is Silicon Bandits. Writer Jason Starr and artist Dalibor Telejek. Futuristic heist story about 2 unemployed programmers who outsource their crimes to androids. Like a lot of people, I'm fascinated by artificial intelligence and all the ethical and legal issues the tech raises. I felt that telling a crime story with android criminals would be an exciting and compelling way into exploring these themes, Starr said in a statement accompanying the announcement. He described the new series as Blade Runner meets Ocean's 11. Silicon Bandits.
Not really. Okay.
Yeah. Silicon Bandits will launch on April 10th, and every issue will have a main cover by Telejek and a variant by Goran Parlov.
They did that already in an episode of The Mandalorian.
Yep.
There was murders, and it turned out to be an android. Turned out to be a droid.
This is very like Johnny Mnemonic to me. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Oh, here this explains a lot. Originally an imprint of heavy metal, Magma announced last year. But if you said it's more like one thing, you have a dead IP. Yeah. It's more than one thing. You have a dead IP. Yeah. Originally an imprint of heavy metal, Magma announced last year that it would relaunch as an independent publisher with the stated intent of being retailer friendly with straightforward ordering, returnability, and limited variant covers.
Oh, that's nice.
Now they have to make a product the retailers can sell.
Old Man Dyson all along.
Yeah.
Phoenix Fire, Purifying.
They would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for them damn kids.
Damn kids, yeah.
Chuck is on next week. He had a family thing happen. He had something come up, and so he couldn't make it. He let us know pretty late in the week when we announced that. But he'll be on next week. I'm wondering if maybe we don't do our big guests like that every other week, so we can cover news more, have more freedom to cover news, and then do our big guest every 2 weeks.
Freedom to point and laugh at news.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. So.
A little bit of doom and gloom.
Here's another little article here that I found a little interesting.
Good old Tencent. Dungeons and Dragons maker reportedly looks at Tencent to sell future video games like Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes, so people are talking about Hasbro selling off D&D, but they're not selling off D&D. They're licensing the IP to Tencent for video games. That's the only games that they're and there's nothing solid, nothing in set in stone.
So you got to do something because the action figure market is crashing.
Well, Hasbro is positioning themselves as a licensor and not a producer anymore.
Yeah.
We've seen that a lot with Super 7 producing a lot of the products and action figures that Hasbro normally would do. And they started that early on with those licenses, and it's been working out as a great relationship. So now they don't have to worry about the overhead of producing toys anymore. You're going to have a lot of third-party creators, just like what they're doing here, and that's their new business model. I would see Disney doing the same thing as well.
I think it's smart.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If you own the IP that is beloved, you might as well license it. Let everybody else take on the risk of manufacturing. You get your percentage, but then you're also allowing these other smaller companies to niche what they're doing and maybe even get a start for themselves, if not make a full living for their employees.
And take on the majority of the risk.
Yeah, and they're gonna push those products, I think, with more vigor, more fervor than you could if you're doing all of it. So
especially in the niche market, they're going to have a bottom line that they absolutely have got to cover in order to afford the license.
Yeah, I think it's smart,
but with a smaller overhead. So
it's kind of interesting. Yep. I wonder if I could get a hold of some of those licenses.
If you can come up with the cash, like I did a little bit of time in the licensing department, and there's a couple of different ways in which it works. But typically, this was T-shirts. You'd have a guarantee that you had to cover with your license, and you'd have a set amount of time to cover that. Otherwise, you had to start paying the chunk out, and then in perpetuity, you would have a percentage on top of that. So if the license is like, let's just say, for example, 50 grand, you'd have 4 years to pay the 50 grand back in your product before you can actually take a real profit on it in some cases. And then in perpetuity, you're paying a certain percentage fee on each dollar that comes in from that license.
It's kind of dangerous for a small creator.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a risk, but
it's a major risk.
Not a risk? Yep. Yeah, what's not a risk? That.
Yep.
Well, I mean, not only that, but I think like this corporate, and I don't want to sound like I'm attacking corporate, but these are IPs that are mired in a fog of corporate. You know what I mean? Like there's nobody really invested in making this feel good. They're all invested in making money. So things like D&D, things like Marvel, things like DC are just on the road to obscurity because nobody cares.
Yeah.
So how me as a toy maker will jump on that train if I know where it's heading. Maybe for a head start to get my name out there, but definitely go make my own thing a couple of years later.
Well, I could say that the Baldur's Gate stuff, like for example, would do surprisingly well because it's like
of course,
like that's D&D technically, but
I mean the things like D&D, it has different niches, and one is Forgotten Realms, where Baldur's Gate is from. Yeah. The other one is Eberron, which is not that famous, and then you got like Greyhawk.
Yeah, none of the other stuff would even, because they don't have necessarily that many recognizable characters.
Maybe Dragonlance. Dragonlance would be a cool one too, because that has a huge following too. The novels, at least.
Mm-hmm. I would say, this would be great for, if like an animation studio wanted to do something, or definitely for games, like gaming license and things like that. But outside of the typical
Ravenloft,
rolling the dice kind of stuff. Video games.
I'll be right back.
Merch is so expensive to make. Like toys are expensive to manufacture.
Yeah,
and I just don't see a lot of people buying those as much as they used to.
It's all us 40-year-olds.
Right, and I've even stopped doing that. I've even stopped spending money on that stuff.
Well, the hard to market because everybody's got a 3D printer, right? So like you can get an STL file for next to nothing in some cases, unless it doesn't exist. And the trick is trying to, in that market, is always find something that nobody else is doing. Yeah. And then there's like all the recognizable characters, they're all for free. So like because the people that are producing those 3D files can't make any like money off it. They can't make profit, so they just offer it for free.
Who wants to print their own toy?
Well,
I don't want to.
People do it all the time. There's a huge market for 3D printers.
It's a huge hobby market. Yeah, I
exactly.
mean, you got to think. There's so many hobbyists out there, doing things that.
So you can get like a heart there's if you go onto any of these websites where you can get STLs of the file for 3D printing, you can get like 1,000 different Batmans completely free. You can get 1,000 different Jokers and Harley Quinns and Spider-Mans, and nobody's charging for any of them.
I'm trying to remember the name of the website I use to download 3D model files.
There's a number, actually.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It was called 3D.
There's 3D Trader, TurboSquid. There's several platforms where you can go and get 3D models.
So here's the article. Wizard, this is an update from Wizard here at the very beginning, and they made a statement. Say, we regularly talk to Tencent and enjoy multiple partnerships with them across a number of our IPs. We don't make a habit of commenting on internet rumors, but to be clear, we are not looking to sell our D&D IP. We will keep talking to partners about how we bring the best digital experiences to our fans. We won't comment any further on speculation or rumors about potential M&A or licensing deals. So they're saying we are not selling, and that's basically what they're saying. They're not selling it. They're licensing it or partnering with someone to license it, which really that's all a license deal is, a partnership to some degree or another, really.
Yeah, they don't just give them out for free, or if you have the money, you've got to prove that you have a track record of being able to make product.
Yeah. Quality product, too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So here's the article. A recent report from Chinese financial news outlet Speed Daily reports that Dungeons & Dragons owner Hasbro is actively chatting with multinational tech company Tencent over a series of rights, including the adaptation rights for electronic games, likely meaning more in big budget projects the size of Valerian's Baldur's Gate 3 video game. Posted January 30th and reshared by English language publication Pandaily. The report unhelpfully claims up top that Hasbro is seeking to sell its well-known IP, Dungeons & Dragons, and that the proposed deal would enable Tencent to gain dominant control over the IP.
Isn't Tencent a Chinese company?
Yeah.
Yep. So that means no more. That could mean no more woke agenda.
It's not.
Oh, absolutely. They're not going to do any of that stuff.
They might get rid of Oriental Adventures, though.
I think they would maybe not call it Oriental. They would just call it Adventures.
Yeah, Adventures. Yeah, it would be Adventures.
It's like, what do they call Chinese food in China? They call it food, folks.
Call it food. Yeah.
It's called food. It's called. That's what it is.
They also call their pets food as well.
Well, I guess it depends on what your tastes are.
Yeah. Maybe it's a fancy pet.
A real fancy pet.
So, yeah. Zero in the chat there is saying TikTok is Tencent as well. Like, I just couldn't imagine, Chinese run D&D, and just this is baffling.
Well, Tencent isn't just a single company; it's a conglomerate, and so they have like multiple subdivisions to handle all of their other things that they're in. They're into a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Grey Wolf. To talk about the 3D models and assets in Clip Studio, if you're going to use those, you got to buy them. Their free ones are garbage. So if you're going to use anything out of there, you have to pay for stuff that people have made that's good.
And not only that, Grey Wolf, if you're gonna use 3D models and that, go into animation databases and study line of action. It's one of the main problems people get when they use 3D models when drawing is they draw a stiff pose. And you can get rid of that if you understand line of action. I'm seeing so many comics with corpses.
Gesture drawing. Gesture drawing.
Gesture.
Right now,
Mm-hmm.
Kelsey is doing a series of short videos
Gesture.
he's showing gesture drawing. And you want to check that out if you're into art and trying to be a better artist. That's really, I think, when I first started studying gesture drawing, that's when my characters became a little more alive.
It's the line of action. Where is it coming? Where is it
Forget
going?
3D, learn how to draw. Yeah, I don't like using I don't like using 3D figures to learn how to draw. I think the extent of, and I was showing this to my daughter's boyfriend over the weekend. He came up to visit, and he wants to be an artist or an animator. He can't decide yet which one he really wants to focus on, but he's really interested in doing both. So I showed him Clip Studio, and I said, look, I'm doing this scene, and I need to set up my lighting in the scene. And I said, I want to make sure that wherever I place the camera, where the figures are going to be. And so I said, so I threw in some 3D models, some characters, and I said, I think I want 4 guys standing here, 3 guys standing here, and I want a 5th guy sitting down here. So I just squished him down to where he was sitting at the right height, so I could figure out my camera stuff. I said, I want to put a desk in here, and it's going to be dark. So I stripped my lighting the direction I wanted it to, so I can see where how are the shadows going to fall and all that. And just like what I would do if I were using a physical model out here, using a little spotlight on it. So I just did it with that, and I looked at that, and then I went, and I'm like, I'm not even going to pose these guys because I'm going to draw the poses myself. Because, gesture drawing, even when they're standing, you can make them look a lot more realistic, than what those 3D models can. So I just started drawing away, and he was like, wow, that's really cool. So we went home and bought 3D and bought Clip Studio Paint so that he could use it. And so,
the other thing for a 3D model to be prepared to pose properly, it needs a proper rig, and those are really expensive. I mean, if your character is not properly rigged, there are things you can't do. Maybe you can't twist the hip properly. You can't place like the wrist will not have its whole range of motions.
Right.
You might not have like ability to move the fingers naturally. So just learn to draw, man. It's easier.
Yeah, learn to draw.
What I find funny about the whole topic is like I'm both classically trained in sculpting like by hand as well as in 3D. There is something to be said about artists that do both sculpture and 2D, and 3D as well. So it's a tool. A lot of people dismiss it. I think it's just the next evolution.
I love assets like cars, spaceship. Like we're designing some spaceships for R.J. Williams' book that I'm working on. So we're designing those. I'm gonna have Whiskey build me simple assets, just like kind of the base model, so that I can set up these, camera angles from different places with the ships and make sure that I've got consistency in the art for those, because I really don't like when I see that, oh, well, that car's not the same in every panel, or that's different here or whatever. I think using them for things like that, I typically don't use them for buildings. I just make up the buildings as I go. And I'll just set up my perspective lines. And I do love the lock perspective on Clip. I think it's so great. So I'll draw out where I want my buildings, and then I'll just go in and I'll just draw. I'll turn all that off and then go in and draw. But it's so much faster than relying on either looking for assets or trying to put the asset in right or trying to edit an asset. It's just faster being able to draw it, And so I like that.
Yep. It's definitely a boon if you use it right. If you use it we talked about this at length with recently with T-Bunny on his show about like the whole 3D thing. We covered a lot of the misconceptions. Even like way back in the day, they were using specific artists who had these like lensing, discovered how to use lensing and designing perspective and all that stuff. And we went into depth in that show. It's actually worth checking out. It's on T-Bunny's social media there on Twitter. But yeah, as 3D assets go, like you can do a lot with it. And as for the ship stuff, for example, I could give Luke a single ship to work with, or I could design a fleet and put them in per thing, and then give him the fleet, so he can then have the distances set up for, and then he can change the perspective in Clip Studio, and so on and so forth. And it can be used as a guide. I like to use it as a reference material when I'm working with an artist. So I'll give them the asset and be like, here, this is what I wanted it to look like.
It will save me hours of work by the end of the project. By getting it all done up front like that, it will allow me to blow through the pages a lot faster. So it makes sense, right? Because, so we've had 2 different guests on in the last month. We had Ethan come on, and his love for storytelling and comics really came out. And then we had Eric on, and his love for business really came out. So you can kind of see like where those 2 guys butt heads. And I kind of feel like for me, the reality is somewhere in the middle of those 2 things, because I have deadlines to meet. People aren't going to wait 4 years for me to draw their comic book. It's not going to happen, because I work for other people. So I have to meet deadlines, which means I have to work at a reasonable pace. But I also want to make sure that I'm giving them the best that I can give, right? And make it look really good, but do it in a timely manner. That's the only reason why I can get hired. If I took too long or charged too much or didn't draw good enough, then I'm not going to get jobs. And that's literally how I pay for stuff. That's how I make a living, is drawing pictures. And so you have to figure out a kind of a medium ground. I'll do 10 to 12 pages a week. Like that's, I love a week where I only have to do 5. But I mean that tends to be the pace that you have to work. So you've tried to find ways to use the tools to speed things up for you. Now, like Wally Wood, like obviously would be using 3D stuff, but there is a crutch where people rely on those, where they just turn them into line art and they leave it.
Many years ago, when I was actually, because comics and stuff like that, and I had before the whole Marvel went stupid and DC went stupid and woke and all that stuff. It was a long time ago, but when I was first got into 3D, and the reason I got into 3D is because I had been just doing 2D drawing at that time, and there was a video by an artist, and I can never remember his name, and I can't find the video. I've looked for hours, but there's an artist working on one of these studios, and I can't remember which one. I think it was like one of the smaller ones, who said to get hired by the industry now, you need these 3D assets. So he's setting up his comic, and in the back, he's doing these like waves and bubbles and stuff with probably I think it was ZBrush. And he said this is like a part of the industry now that you need these aspects. So what he did was he used these bubbles to blend into the background, like to create this underwater effect, and then just sort of kind of like traced over it and then blended in. Didn't use like any filters or anything. He just drew over top of it to get the lighting and perspective correctly. So that's why I actually originally studied 3D, was so I could work for these larger companies down the road and have the skills necessary to do so. And it used to allegedly be a requirement. Again, I can't find the video. I don't know where the source is from. Couldn't tell you who the artist was. But unfortunately, I never got into comics as much, and more went into 3D modeling because I found it more, I don't know, just like miniatures, that kind of stuff. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a requirement. But if you're going to work fast, I think you have to use pre-made assets from time to time. And not necessarily 3D. It could be things that you draw. Like I've got brushes that I've either bought or adapted or made myself to get certain effects that I like to get. That instead of drawing all those little hash marks, it adds them all in there all at once for me. So I'll, and it becomes very much your style. People start to see things that obviously Luke did that. They kind of know. One of the things that Cameron, my daughter's boyfriend, noticed was, he goes, the way you draw knees, it's your legs. I could always tell. I can always tell that that's Luke's world, because he said in Luke's world no one misses leg day. I said no, they don't. Yeah, I always pull them. I always knob those knees a little bit. And I got that from another artist. I can't remember who it was. I saw do it, and I just liked it. I liked it so much that I was like,
sometimes that's all it takes.
That's mine now. I'm
Yeah.
taking that. That's mine now.
You can hyper focus on realism, believability, and accuracy, but they're all kind of mutually exclusive. Like something can look believable but not be accurate, because when you're creating a character, you're keeping in mind the skeletal structure, the muscles, whatever the style is, doesn't matter. As long as you keep those things in mind, it's going to look good. It's going to look believable, regardless if it's realistic or not.
Yeah. I like to break reality and stretch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like some of the stuff Donald DeLay's doing, like I'm really looking forward to Jaeger Bomb. That's like the biggest thing I'm looking forward to from somebody else this year, because he's having so much fun with it. You can tell he's got his child's heart is just poured into it. And he's his style was loose to begin with, but he's loosening up even more.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool, cool to see.
I think it's neat how he breaks the rules of anatomy and will like oversize the top and give him these little tiny bottoms. It's aesthetically pleasing, and I love it. But I like the idea, and I learned this from Ethan years ago, and then I learned it, and then also it was reiterated by Todd McFarlane. Was when you're drawing your characters, make them stretchy like rubber bands.
Yeah.
Like really elongate certain things to get the, but then you have to learn foreshortening, and foreshortening's hard, guys.
Yeah.
Now, Clip Studio, you can put a 3D model in there, you can pose them, and you can do this thing called manga perspective, right? Where you can stretch it out, but it doesn't work right. No. I saw someone talking about it, and so I looked down like, no, that's not the right perspective either. It's not done right, because it's still a 3D model, which is very static, just digitally tried to be stretched out. It really takes an artist hand and an artist eye.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I mean, looking at my background, like coming from an animation background, I'm obsessed with movement.
Mm-hmm.
And even movement has perspective. And sometimes people like miss out on that. It's like if you're having problems with a really common problem I see is people doing like fists coming to the screen, right? Like this. Like how that foreshortening works. Think first, is it a jab? Is it a hook? Is it an uppercut? That will give you the line of action, and then you can place your bones and all the structure properly. So that's the thing. Like always think of movement, where it's coming from, where it's leading.
But you also don't have to draw everything.
No, you don't. You don't. But doing just like the diagram of the trajectory of the punch will help you with the perspective. Go ahead.
Yeah, with 3D art, perspective is actually extremely important, because how you perceive perspective and focal length, all that kind of stuff dramatically changes how you actually sculpt something. And if you don't have your perspective set up correctly, your model is going to look like crap on the exit. It might look good while you're working with it, but then you need to reproduce it like 3D printing or give it to somebody else for like a video game or what have you, animation, and the perspective is off. It's going to look like absolute garbage. And it is a ridiculously hard skill to be able to to develop your eye for perspective in 3D. For example, I can just turn off my perspective here and then turn it back on, right? It's just like how it's set up, and I can set up different focal length and stuff like that as well. So if I wanted to drop it into, to do this really quickly, change it to like 18 or 85, for example, right? Changes the focal length.
Know your lenses, man.
I do want to talk about this for a second. Arms and legs are very rarely straight. This is what I think a lot of young artists that are new to it, and I didn't know it. I would say I saw things differently after I woke up from my nap. And I started immediately drawing differently when it came to the models. And when people are standing in motion and not in motion, everything's kind of straightish, right? When they're moving, it's curvy. Everything's curvy. But the other thing that I started doing was I don't draw cylinders anymore. I draw shapes. So my standard shape for putting together a body is, are you familiar with those little orange candies, little orange slice candies?
No.
Okay, well, they're just shaped like, almost like a little triangle with a soft side. So they got points on the end, soft side, and straight on one side. And so it's basically, a leg is a version of, two versions of one of those, hinged, not at the point, but just inside the point. Or the way I draw them is, so if the two triangles are like this, it would be hinged there. I just move that down and make a circle, which is why I have the knobby knee. And now this is the way I draw the knee the way I do. Because I'm like, oh, well, let's draw it like that. I think that'd be fun. And then for an arm, it's almost the same, but instead of hinging out like that, I hinge in like a chain. So it hinges like a chain. And so you got to stop thinking in terms of cylinders with circles that hold them together and start thinking in terms of shapes that overlap. And when you start doing that, then your forearms look better when throwing a punch. Your legs look better while kicking or swinging through the air. It's all a matter of learning those steps. And 3D assets might help you get there for perspective drawing, but it won't help you with gesture drawing. That's always in comics, the reason, especially with superhero comics, what makes them great is gestures. That's what makes them dynamic, and it all comes down to what Pedro talked about with movement and the study of motion.
I think the best use for 3D assets in 2D is static objects only, and generally only as a reference. Rarely do you want to use it as anything else. For something elaborately complex, sure, maybe you want like clockwork, like whatever. That's going to be difficult to draw and very time consuming. A 3D asset could help in that regard. Maybe some runes or something way in the back, elaborate drawings. But like static, if you're going to like a 3D model, you're not going to get the results you're looking for. Not without years of both experience in 3D and 2D.
Yeah, exactly. It's one more thing to learn.
It's like, oh, I need a random apartment building in the background. Yeah, let's throw in a 3D asset and take care of that.
You can do that.
Yeah. Things like that. But I mean, I know a lot of people were, and we talked about a little bit at the end of last week's episode, and some people felt it was very disingenuous. We didn't give it much time. I knew we weren't going to, because, I mean, Eric is really good at staying on his talking points. On his talking points. So even when we'd ask a question, he was really good at moving it back to what points he wanted to make. I really appreciated that. It was very much like very almost like a politician in that sense.
Yep.
Like he knew, it's like when we asked about that, he would when we're talking about this. And we had some people in our comments, that video's gotten a lot of rewatches. And so we've had some people kind of make comment about that. And, I have to chuckle because each time you do an interview with someone like that, you have to expect that, especially when you're doing a non-controversial, respectful, having a conversation about comic books. And it's not about what news they're making right now. It's about what moves they're making, not the news, the moves. And it's interesting, but so I knew we weren't going to get a lot of real discussion out of that because, he's not an artist. And really that's kind of an artist topic, is to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I can see where people are upset a little bit. I can see where their complaints come from. But I also, some people think that Cliff relied too much on 3D.
I mean, it's a valid point.
What's your thoughts, Eric? I mean, you work about as much as I do on comics. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, one of the things that really kind of eye-opened me about the idea of taking shortcuts, because it's something that was like, it always seemed like a taboo to begin with, was a Drew Struzan documentary where he's talking about the necessity of deadlines, the necessity of, he'd have a studio say, we need a poster for this. You've got, 4 or 5 likenesses that need to be on there. And he's like, yeah, I could do it without any help, but I wouldn't get it done. I wouldn't get paid. It would take like 4 months instead of 2 months. So you see him taking photographs, studio photographs of Harrison Ford or whatever. He throws them up on, I don't think he might have used a projector. I don't remember, but he was basically transferring the photo.
Oh, yeah. That's called an opaque.
And then he would go back into that with colored pencil, and he would basically draw on top of that transfer to get the facial structure so that he could speed up things with time. And I think the bottom line comes down to is like your own personal ethos. If you feel like you're violating your own conscience by taking a shortcut, that probably means you are doing it wrong. And whether it's like, I mean, hell, the old masters that we look at, they would use the camera obscura to do their masterworks.
Yeah.
Or playing tricks with mirrors. So, there's nothing new under the sun. I think as long as you hold to your own personal beliefs and you really feel like the work that you're putting out is yours, you're not just tracing a 3D model, you're not just throwing assets together, and it's not just a collage thing that you're not a collagist or what. I don't even think that's a word, but I digress. It's your own personal ethos. For me,
we call those photo bashing.
Yeah, I personally, for me, I try to steer away from shortcuts as much as possible because I want to continue to develop. But in the event, if I need something like that, I'm not going to trace it. I'm going to use it as a guide like I would a ruler or something else and draw over it, draw through so that you're still getting this. You're getting, like, for perspective, you're getting the correct perspective, but you're putting your own work, your own hand into it.
Right. Yeah, Russ is right. Never draw anything you can copy. Never copy anything you can trace. Never trace anything you can cut.
That's Wally Wood there, yeah.
Wally Wood, my friend. Yeah. It is about getting the job done. But storytelling has to come first. And I think that's where we're missing the point. It's storytelling is what comes first. And whatever tools you use to get there should be good to go. It's, and again, if you're not, like Eric said, if you're not violating your personal convictions on things, then, it is what it is. And if people are willing to pay you.
We love Alex Ross, but if you know Alex Ross's process, the mystery is gone. He hires models, he lights these models, he photographs these models, he transfers the drawings onto his board from the photographs that he takes, and then he's, doing watercolor washes and stuff. So
yeah,
there's a recipe for stuff.
Norman Rockwell, I grew up thinking, man, great. When I found out how he got the result, took a picture, put it on an overhead projector, traced it, and painted it. What?
Yeah.
What?
Rockwell, yeah. That's true.
I love Rockwell.
What's interesting about, like, as Russ brought up the comment about using making the staffs, like those aren't pre-made, like stuff you can get in Sketchfab or wherever you get all the 3D models from. Handmade stuff that I wanted a really specific look for, and you drop them in, and until he mentioned it, nobody would have noticed at all.
Yeah.
Right? Like whatsoever that they were 3D assets because they were just blended in so extremely well, and there's no filters involved with that. Actually, I have no idea how he did it, but I think he just inked over top of it.
What I'm hearing is free is the problem that people have.
Yeah,
and ISOM is that free assets.
Okay.
There's no sacrifice there. If you and that's why I think most
Hey,
people have contention.
guys, I gotta go start a fire.
Have fun.
So yeah, I might be back, but I might not. It all depends.
Sounds like a fun day.
Yeah.
It's always good when you get to start a fire.
So on that same note, if I
Get
could
those
finish,
marshmallows.
if I can
Yeah.
finish my thought there, I think
Oh.
it's the same sort of people have contentious with AI art is that there's no sacrifice there. And you're not doing the work, and it feels like cheating. And I think they can sort of conflate the two. But again, there is no like if you're just dropping in somebody else's work and then manipulating it somehow, it doesn't feel like you earned it. But like
Right.
I'm sort of biased in the way because I use 3D assets for comics, so to get better references.
Yeah, I used to go out and photograph my own things. Like if I needed a photograph or something, I would just take it. There's
I mean, so Todd McFarlane, who everybody who's a comic book artist seems to really adore. I mean, I adore him in some ways myself. There's a really great picture of Batman that he drew with this awesome cityscape that he just traced out of Akira.
Yeah.
The buildings match up one for one on this Batman.
Yeah, there's a Spider-Man cover where it's Spider-Man drawn, but it's literally just a photo that's been doctored for the background.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's a cover, guys. That's a cover.
Yeah.
It's what does the end result look like, and whatever it takes to get to that end result, as long as the storytelling is what's important. But that is only one piece of the battle that we're seeing right now inside of kind of this realm of indie comics. I think what I wanted to talk about this morning, and this is where I really want to get your guys' feedback and input, and I think this is useful and helpful for our viewers, and maybe we'll get some nice bacon bits out of this, is someone mentioned that, I think it was Ethan talking about Eric, or maybe someone just mentioned it and no one said it at all, and it's just all conjecture, but it's still a reasonable topic to have a conversation about, is that Eric is taking a piece of the pie and there's not enough pie to go around, and people are upset because he's taken so much of the pie. But someone says that, now I didn't get this sense from having him on last week, but this is what people are saying, that he doesn't respect the art form. I disagree with that. Like I didn't get that sense at all last week. I feel like he does respect the art form and that he loves comic books, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the statement that sparked my idea for this conversation today, and we were going to have it next week, so I just flipped weeks, but we're going to have it this week, is that he's taken so much of the pie and there's not enough pie to go around, so the people that are going to suffer are the smaller creators. And I can see where some might think that, but I am kind of at my core against that statement, and I'll get into why in a little bit. But do you guys think that the pie is shrinking, and that when these other guys come in, these big YouTubers come in to make comics, that they're taking portions of the pie away from us?
Not necessarily. No, because like Eric, for example, Eric's book Isom is absolutely nothing. This not even the same genre of entertainment that like my comic. Mine's fantasy, Age of Sail, necromancy. I'm not. There's no superhero there, right? So for me, they're not my customers or potential customers. They're not even the same ballpark. They may not even like superhero comics. They might be more interested in fantasy and horror, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't feel like there's any sort of portrait over. However, I can see where people might be upset because, like, there is some people only have small budgets. I can only buy so many indie comics in a year, and the only one I've bought this year is Perfect 10, right? And my next one is probably going to be Silence Do Good Stuff, and then eventually I'm going to get Randy to get me a signed copy of The Fool. But like,
one of these days.
Yeah. And it like my budget's really small because I'm making comics.
Right. Well, we know Yellow Flash is coming in with a comic book. We know that the Friday Night Tights guys are making books now. We're talking about making books. They're obviously going to be successful.
I'm drawing a Chromatic Chronicles Green for drawing 3PO. So,
which, by the way, congratulations on landing that gig. I would love to land a gig with a, big YouTuber that's got a built-in audience.
He's an amazing guy. I got to meet him down in the Central Florida Comic Con. He came out and hang out with me on Sunday, and I went to dinner with him afterwards. And he's a great Christian guy. He truly believes in the work. The book is awesome. There's a lot of great opportunities coming up, and things that I'm not allowed to speak on. And it's an exciting thing, and I'm very grateful and very humble to be a part of it.
I would love to bring him on to talk about his work. I really would.
Absolutely.
I think he'd be a fun interview.
See if I can make that happen.
Yeah, see if we can make that happen.
On the question of pies, this argument that they're taking too much of one single pie, this is a communist argument against free market capitalism. It's the same kind of thing drummed over and over and over again, that there's only a certain amount of money and we got to go get the money from the rich people because they have it all. That completely ignores completely ignores supply and demand. It completely ignores the individual product that you're selling. We're not competing with like the old CG edges was hot dog vendors. We're all not making hot dogs. Some people are going to want something else. And so to Bayonet's point, it's the market for like Yellow Flash's book is largely going to be Yellow Flash's audience, or fans of Dillard are going to pick it up, or people of just general fandom of that genre are going to pick it up. Same thing for whatever the Rippaverse puts out. It's going to be dependent on, is it a quality product? Is it something that you feel like you can't live without? And it's hard for us to talk about these things because, again, to Bayonet's point, we're creators. We got to spend our money on other things. So something has to rise to a certain level of expectation before I give money to it.
Yes.
And I think as creators, it's kind of hard for us to comment on what the fans are going to do, because the fans are going to consume the content that excites them, that fills some need. I mean, that's why people buy things in the first place, is to fill a need, rather overtly or subvertly, whatever that is. And, that's why people don't give up on Star Wars. There's still people who by their principles should be against what Disney's doing and say they are, but they're still going to the movies, still watching it, because there's something about those characters that is intrinsic to them, and they're always going to support them. The biggest issue is our national economy, possible collapse of the dollar, the market crash, because as we saw in the post-roaring 20s with the market crash then, people still went out and bought things to be creative about. They were buying the pulps. They were buying, the cheap 10-cent comic books because that was the cheap medium. Now, I believe that that's going to be like Webtoons if that ever happens. So have a digital presence, have easy accessibility to the characters and stories that you're trying to tell to weather that, because that's going to be a bigger driver of sales than YouTubers making comics and watering down some little indie pool.
I would say to your point about during Depression era stuff, during war, during times of strife, entertainment is something that people turn to quite a lot because they want to escape the escapism. They want to get away from the horrors and suffering in their daily life, just to have a small section of hope. So even when stuff is going south, it's good for business. I hate to say it, but it is.
Yeah. But you want to make a quality product because people are going to be more choosy.
True. Yes. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think the barrier for entry for comics has gotten lower and lower. Crowdfunding has made that possible. We talked last week about with music. So I believe that the music industry and the comic industry are very similar in a lot of ways. So the first thing to go with the working class musician was drummers, with the drum machine back in like 1980 something, right? The drum machine was the first thing to go. In fact, I just bought a new drum machine, so that I can make a little loop and play a little song to it, right? And that was the first thing to go. And then they had these home studios, and people were starting to build very expensive home studios, but there was still a barrier of entry because of cost. And then the laptop came with audio interfaces, cheaper microphones. It just became a lot easier to make your own music, and now everything's electronic. You have Band in a Box, and a lot of people will use Band in the Box to do all their backing tracks and stuff. And most of the bands, if you can even call them that, they're solo artists that go out and have backing tracks, or they're one or two people groups that use drums and things like that. And now we have AI that's coming in making music for people. It really changed the music industry. Well, if you look at comics, barrier for entry was really high. You had distribution just to get to fans alone. You had to play the game. You had to go through those normal routes. But now with YouTube and crowdfunding and social media, you can go directly to the fan, to the reader themselves. But with digital printing, it made printing books cheaper. It made being able to do that a more viable option. With artists being able to use digital tools like what I use, not having to use pen and paper, I charge way less for a digital page than I do a physical page. Just how it is, because I can do it faster, and it costs me nothing in supplies. I've already got it right here, so it's way cheaper, way faster.
I've been spending a lot of time in manga communities recently as kind of outreach, trying to get them interested in the Fun Comic stuff. And a lot of the, when you talk to these, I guess we call mangakas or whatever, they use absolutely every tool at their disposal, digital art, 3D assets, anything they can do to speed up time, tracing, so on and so forth. Then they're not shy about it. They're not there's no taboo surrounding it whatsoever, and they'll just do anything to get the job done.
Yeah, Ed Sheeran uses an RC300 loop pedal from Boss. I used to have one, trying to find another one. But yeah, great tool for looping things. Amazing. There's so much stuff that you can do. All these tools are now at your hands with comic books. And now, I think AI is going to come in and disrupt both of those. Disrupt both of those platforms, both of those industries even further. But what I see is that the barrier for entry is lower, and so more people are creating crap comics. It's not that more people are creating good comics. Right. It's that fewer people are making good comics in the independent realm, and more people are making crap comics. I hate to be so forward and blunt with that, but let's be fair. How many crowdfunded comic books have you picked up and read and thought, wow, this is going to hit. This is big. This is great. I haven't had many.
I mean, there are a lot out there. They're just.
I've had a lot of good, not great. Yeah. I've had a lot of, and I've had some that are just. I mean, on every platform that you can see crowdfunding, there's stuff that you're like, wow, that art is not quite where it needs to be. Their campaign is all misspelled, so clearly they're not using an editor. So what's it going to be like in that book? You have a lower expectation. I think sometimes we have a lower expectation of what an indie comic should be too, as well. And maybe we shouldn't. Having said that, Eric, you're right. This is a communist Marxist worldview that there's only this amount and we're all trying to dip in from this. That's only true if you refuse to step outside of your circles. If you always go to the same places to consume media, and you think that the only people that can buy your book are the ones that buy Eric's book, or buy Ethan's book, or buy Shane's book, or buy Tenaple's book, or buy Tucci's book, then you're thinking, I'm competing for their money against those people.
and maybe they will buy your book, but the thing is, like, the fact that they buy your book doesn't mean they're not gonna buy Ethan's book anyway. You know what I mean? It's not that kind of like,
Right.
I mean, in Latin it's called sine qua non, like you or me, but it
Yeah.
can be both. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Get better.
Yeah.
Now here's what I so this is I might get myself in trouble for this. Okay.
Ooh.
Guys, if I'm canceled tomorrow, you know why. It's this moment right here. So, objectively, looking from the outside in, observing, what happened, in my opinion, is that Eric came in and he brought a big section of new readers to comic books. And what has happened is people tried to introduce their work to these new readers, right?
Okay.
And then personalities got in the way.
Okay.
Everywhere. Because artistic people are divas. Okay?
Yeah.
Comics, man.
Well, comics, music, anybody that's artistic, they're divas, they're emotional, and they're egotistical. All of us, every last one of us, has a little bit of an ego, right? And it's a little sensitive when it comes to our work. Across the board. It's all part of this neurodivergence that is so popular these days that people talk about. And
we're all a little touched in the head.
Right, we're all a little touched. We're all just a little off. And personalities got in the way, right? And what happened was wars broke out, battles. And then fans felt like they had to choose one side or the other. Well, obviously, all of Ripa's fans that came in, because they're brand new to comics, they're choosing that side. I don't need to buy your books over there because I wasn't buying your book before. I wasn't a comic book fan for many, many years. I'm back because of Eric. So here I am. I'm Ripaverse Comics all the way. Let's go, right? And then people that were a fan of both, well, I'll buy your book over here and I'll buy your book over there. It's not a big deal to me. I don't care. I like either one. And then when the battle started being, it's like, well, you know, and there's this sense of you've got to choose a side, or people don't like the way this creator said something to that creator or about them or how they behave. They're like, well, you know what? Screw you. I'm not going to buy your book anymore. I'm only going to buy this guy's book over here. I'm seeing some of that. And what happens is when you already have your audience and you fracture your audience to not want to buy your book anymore because they feel like they have to pick a side in some kind of culture war or something, then yes, Eric is taking too much of your pie.
Can I add something to this? Because
sure.
I'm not sure if it's speculative or I don't know if I'm talking on my ass, but I spent when I was doing more of the miniature stuff, and I still have a tabletop game in developments in the back or background or back burner, if you will. But when I was going to these different YouTube communities, in their discords and their chat rooms and all that kind of stuff, all of them had a similar like particularly the specific kind of people we're talking about, not necessarily Eric July, because I have never been in his, if he even have his Discord, but a lot of the larger YouTubers have a policy where they will not allow their community to share any resources at all. No self-promotion, no nothing at all, except for whatever they want to promote in their inner circle. And they police that kind of stuff with extreme prejudice, if you will. Like if you promote your stuff and it's unsolicited, they will blacklist you. They will do everything in their power to make you feel terrible and make sure their fans make you feel terrible. So a lot of that energy could have been brought over when, again, I don't know if it's true for Eric, but for other creators, a lot of that same kind of not promoting anything else could be brought over into other industries like comics, indie comics, and so on and so forth.
Well, I think it does happen a little bit. Let me talk about Bunny's comment here. What sucks is all those new readers were fed subpar product. That's bullshit. It doesn't matter. It's subjective. Who cares if you think it's not good or not? Who cares if you think it's subpar, buddy? Honestly, all that matters is if the customer likes it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? That's all that matters at the end of the day. Do you like it? Are they buying it?
One of the things that was a hard pill for me to swallow early on, especially trying to do the fan art thing, is I would find myself getting physically angry when I would see fans buying what I deem to be subpar art. Now, I can look at a piece and I can say, well, that's the splatter filter in Photoshop. That anatomy is wrong. It's not even on model for the character. The person buying that, it took me forever to see, do not see that. They do not see 3D SketchUp assets. They do not see, obvious tracing or poor color choices. The normie doesn't see that stuff. They see something that they're emotionally attached to, that it invokes a sense of wanting that, and they love it and they buy it anyway. Those of us on the creative side who are chastising this, that, and the other thing, we see things differently than most of the population does. And that's something that I try to always keep in the forefront of my mind, is like, if I'm producing something I'm happy with, am I happy with this? Am I on time with this? Okay, now what's the customer feedback? Because I had a piece of artwork that I hated for the longest time. It was a Wolverine that I half-assed, put some anonymous ninja in the background. People kept buying that dang thing for the longest time. I just got so sick of it that I stopped printing it, but I could probably still sell it today. But it's just something that I don't want to see my name on anymore out in the universe. But that's the point, is like, most readers, they love the character, the story, the personality behind it. They don't see the technical things that we like to bitch about.
Right. Exactly.
Can I jump in there? Because like action figures, like I agree 100% with your point. In the wild, I see lots of stuff that like 3D models. I'm like, that's a pre-made asset. That's not a pre-made asset. This is this and that, and the quality here sucks. But very few people outside of experts in that field see like what the layman sees. A comic artist is not a 3D expert. They don't have the same kind. And I've encountered recently where I was dismissed by a creator because they didn't understand the bulk of my stuff is miniatures. They didn't understand that a lot of it's made for production, for miniatures to be multi-posing and stuff like that. So some of it's stiff, some of it's not stiff, some of it, so on and so forth. The skill level involved isn't, it is, I don't know, multifaceted. Like, it's not like the same kind of stuff that you see in comics applies to like 3D modeling. And when I see people doing 3D modeling that are comic artists, I can point out so many errors, so many mistakes that I like. It just irritates the crap out of me. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I even think about growing up on comics. How many comics that I read that today? Everyone was so critical of Jack Kirby with his squiggly kneecaps and all of the things, his blocky fist. And now everyone celebrates the man because they realize how friggin' amazing he was. It didn't matter. It was evoking that feeling and emotion like Eric was talking about. And it really does come down to that. And again, let's go on the other side of that. Who cares if Ethan takes 4 years to put out a book? If his fans are willing to wait, then let them wait and mind your own damn business.
Absolutely.
It's not about when you start fighting if you take your 100 or so fans, couple hundred fans, and what you do is you start beefing with somebody else, you're going to make them choose you or them. And yes, you're going to lose more of your pie. You're going to have less on the next go around. But if you mind your own business and you start thinking, how do I do what Eric did? And he found a way to reach people that weren't fans. I don't have 20 years to spend on a platform to build it up on music and political commentary, to have fans that would be willing to invest money into a book for me, $35 plus shipping or whatever. I don't have that time. That's not my plan. That's not what I want to do. But how do I find people that aren't buying comic books right now, or aren't buying my comic book right now, and maybe aren't buying any of the books from the people that I'm arguing with right now? How do I find those people and go make more pie or go to a new pie shop? That's really what it comes down to, is if we're all fighting over one pie like it's the last one that's ever going to be made, of course, we're all going to freak out and we're going to struggle. We just read this article about ICV2 doing ICV2 Direct. They are going to that's the same pie shops, the retailers, right? But what they're doing is the retailers struggling with having quality comic books to read. They're struggling with that, right? So what ICV2 is doing is offering additional pies to the retailer, with allowing people that were getting lost or they didn't have room to hold their stuff for distribution by saying, here, you can distribute directly to the retailer from the publisher through our avenues. So in a way, they're trying to expand the market for the retailer. The sad part is the number of retailers is dwindling, which means everybody that was in the green section or one of the smaller sections in the previews magazine, they're still fighting over a smaller pie because the number of people that are actually going into comic book stores and buying comics is dwindling. What we need to be doing is finding ways to get out of the comic book shops and into newsstands. And how can we create, maybe the floppy isn't what's going to do it from now on. Maybe we got to figure out something else.
Can we get Randy's opinion on this whole pie thing? Because he's got.
Let's do it.
Because I don't know. You look like you have an opinion.
I've just been sitting here listening to everybody else, so I've got a different perspective on all that. Fuck your pie. Excuse my language.
We're allowed one, and that's
that's the one.
I think they did that in that movie, American Pie. I think that happened already.
Yeah, they did. If you're thinking in terms of pie, and you're worried that somebody's taking your piece of pie, you're really an idiot. You really are. You need to go out there and you need to look at comic history. You need to see how big this freaking pie actually was. It all comes down to entertainment value. The people who are the thing that gets me, and I want to make this point before I wander off of it. The people complaining about that pie and how small that pie is the people that are out there spending 4 hours on a fucking video game, who are out there watching and criticizing movies, or they're out there talking about the latest streaming service or whatever. And they're screwing their own pie. That pie is only as limited as you want to see that pie. And if you want to whine, you want to cry, and you want to troll about that pie, you have no idea, one, how business works, and two, how big that pie actually is. Because it's all entertainment value. And I just, Ben Dunn posted something on Facebook that I did this long talk about it. It's what it comes down to. We're not in competition with each other. We're all that kind of mentality is a crab in the bucket thought, where you just want to drag the guy that's above you down to your level or lower, your perceived level or lower. It all comes down to entertainment value. How much you entertain that customer is how much that customer is going to come back and buy your pie. Because you can make there's so much pie available out there, and the comics especially were in so many different venues and so many different places. Learn your history. The evolution of this art form is amazing, dynamic, and it's filled with bastards and little kids and horrible schoolyard mentality over and over and over again that constantly reach up and try to restrict this freaking pie, when really we're an art form, we're a form of entertainment, and we should be looking at going out there and just it's up to us to make a quality product and to direct people to it in order to come back to it. And it's not just some little tiny, Eric's taking my slice. Oh, this guy's taking my slice. Crowdfunding's just another way to get out there. The direct market is just another way to get out there. There are tons of other ways. You just have to find them. You have to take that chance and go out there and look for your own section. Eric has got his own little audience. Eric's got an amount of people that are always going to buy from him, and that's the way that it is. And who was it? Rabbit was talking about substandard product. That's great. That's good for you, because if there's people coming in looking at comics as viable entertainment, and he's doing substandard product, that gives you a chance to do a high quality product and attract people away.
Amen.
Let that pie grow. Bring these people in. Show people off. Here's comics. Here's what comics are. Oh, I like this comic, but this comic is better. I love this comic. We need to stop trolling and stop having the stupid crab bucket thought pattern and limited pie resource, and go out there and entertain people and be worried about what we're doing, and to make our product the best quality product that we can to bring more customers in, and then raise that quality level up so that people recognize comics as the great art form medium that it deserves to be, especially here in the States. This is why we're beaten by the European market. This is why we're beaten by manga, is because they're out there making the most entertaining quality product they possibly can, however they can, wherever they can, whenever they can. And we're not. We're too worried about our little pie.
I think that, especially in the independent industry, well, first off, thank you for your generosity. We got to make the bird dance. Thank you for the $5 super chat by Mike Has Bad Knees. Mike has bad knees. I have a bad back.
Sorry, Mike.
Preach, Mike. Mike says preach.
I
Preach,
identify.
preach, yeah.
Really, we're a form of entertainment. We should be looking at ourselves as an entertainment medium. And yeah, that 90, 80, whatever percent is going to be absolute crap garbage. And it needs to be in order for that 15 or 20% to rise to the top. What we should be worried about, what we really need to be worried about, is what percentage and where in that pie graph your quality, your personal quality sits, as opposed to what everybody else is. We should look at what everybody else is doing for potential marketing, business points, stuff to do and not to do. But we should be a hell of a lot more worried about our product and how that's getting out to our audience and how we're building up our audience, a lot more than worried about somebody's taking other people's pie. And this is the problem I have with trolling and with spite marketing, where you're going out there and go, you want to buy my product because this guy's a shit. The more that crap goes on, the more people become apathetic and they get tired of the art form. Not at first of you, because you're always out there whining, bitching, and complaining. And then they get tired of the art form and they decide, well, I'll sit on my couch and play my video game, because nobody criticizes me there unless I'm up online. I can play my little personal game and have all the entertainment fun that I want. And that's our mentality needs to be that we're creating that video game for that person to lose themselves in and to be entertained with. And the better quality we make our stuff, the more the art form's going to rise up. We should be a lot more concerned about what we're doing and the positivity and spreading the positivity about this art form in this industry than going out there and trolling and worried about everybody else's pie.
It's very true. It's very true.
Ring your own bell, Randy. Ring your own bell, please.
How's that for a snippet?
Thank you.
Bell yourself.
There's some bacon bits for you. Pixel Trader says, question: is a questionable quality product in hand more valuable than a product that's still in progress that will eventually be great? In my eyes, a normal consumer, I'd argue yes.
Well, this is
the
thing.
I have a point here. The answer to that question is, what do you want as a customer? If you want high quality, you'll wait for it. If you want your story right now, you'll get it right now. But it's the decision of the customer. This infighting, it's funny, for a day. But if you go for months in that, then you're not a comic book creator. You're just a fighter.
This is the thing right now about where we are in our industry. And please, folks, I'm working on a history book. I really want to get it out soon about the overall view of the industry. And I keep saying this, crowdfunding is literally the Wild West. We're blazing new trail, new territory. And there's so many folks out there of talent that are just learning. And if you go and you look at these the successful people's examples, they're telling you have to be creative, but you also have to be a business. There's so many people out there trying to learn that now, and it's a crazy amount of skill level that you have to take on in order to get both of those, let alone get both of those in balance so that you're actually successfully doing both with a level of quality, the business side and the creative side. We figured that out back in the 80s when Sue and Arrow was first starting, that you have to go out there and pay attention to both of those sides and try to understand them as best as you can. At this market, we're not in competition with each other, and we need to stop that kind of mentality. We're in competition with the video games, with the written books, in the bookstores, in the libraries, wherever, and we need to think of ourselves as providers of entertainment and not fighting over each other's and trolling over each other's pie. When we go through and we critique books, we need to critique them positively in the hopes that everybody can learn from them and grow this art form as an industry, as a business. And that goes with looking at people's operations too. Not everybody's going to be perfect. In fact, the majority of us are going to falter and barely make livings, if we make livings at all. That's the way business works. But going out there and learning from the people that are successful, what they did successfully, and seeing how we can apply that to us positively is the key to raise up everybody. The independent market, there hasn't been more people making livings in the independent market than now. You're, despite what everybody thinks, despite how and despite the audience that's leaving from this art form constantly because they're fed up with they become apathetic. Star Wars isn't what it used to be. Star Trek isn't what it used to be. All of these big franchises, people are desperate right now, and especially with the economy the way that it's in, to get inexpensive, accessible entertainment. And if the people that are going out there to provide that are the ones that are being rewarded, again, just look at manga. That's what I'm saying. There's an example out there.
People are honestly, they're going there because they're kind of tired. I think it hasn't been about comics for a while for some people.
It's a stupid schoolyard mentality that keeps us down more than our lack of quality or, entertainment. We need to get past that and raise everybody up.
And it's subjective too. I mean, who's to say what you think quality is, someone else might not, right? Like I would like a restaurant that some food critics would not like.
Mm-hmm.
I probably would like food here that some of you wouldn't like, because taste is all subjective, I think we can say there's certain definers like, well, quality, this or that, and we can, try to narrow it down to a few non-negotiables that this is good quality, poor quality.
There are times that you want to go to that prime steakhouse and have that great piece of meat. And there are other times when you're craving pecan pancakes from Waffle House.
Right. It's like Kojo's question. Okay.
The Waffle Houses are accessible.
Yeah.
I like the fights at the Waffle House, though.
Yeah. So, okay. Pie question
that
for you.
Too.
If you're craving sweets, would you prefer a vending machine hand pie now or wait hours for grandma homemade pie? Depends on how hungry you are and if you love pie. Look, I think there's room for both pies. Okay, I love Chicago deep dish pizza. I know when I go there, I'm going to wait an hour for my food. So you know what I do? I don't go when I'm hungry. I go before I'm hungry. And I go and I know I'm going to enjoy a great pizza. Or if I'm going to a steakhouse, I know I go when I make a reservation so that I know I'm going to get in, or when I go, I go in not starving when I get there, but when the food gets to me, I know I'm going to be ready for it. There's other cases where I'm hungry right now. I'm going to McDonald's or Taco Bell some fast food where I can get it very quickly. It's like that with comics. There's some stuff you're going to want to pick up, you can get right away. You can get today. There's some stuff you know that I'm going to have to wait a while for that one. But it better be worth it. I think if you're going to take a long time to produce a book, it better be worth it. Ethan does that. Takes a long time to produce a book, but when you get it, it's worth every penny, and it's worth every minute that you waited to get it, right? And then there's people that it comes out quick, right? And you get it right away. I think people's biggest complaint, now if I heard more consumer complaint about this, is that Eric's book did come out quick, but it was full of free 3D assets and it was expensive. If that was their argument, that's a valid consumer argument. That's something that he should listen to and take back to his company and figure out what he's going to do to address those concerns of actual consumers. I think that's a viable argument there.
I think we're going to see some things in ISOM 3 that are going to note that.
I think so too, and that's what we learned from the conversation we had with him last week. I think that's what's going to happen. But again, I only care about your business when you're on this show talking to me, because I want to learn and glean from you and what you're doing and how you're growing, because maybe I can do that too, right?
Mm-hmm. So,
but then go ahead.
So I totally interrupt you and cut you off, man. Unfair, but I really wanted to hear what you had to say. So maybe we can circle back. But to Randy's point, he was talking about the crab bucket schoolyard mentality and stuff like that. I have an additional point to add to that, is that a lot of these smaller creators, we're not EVS, we're not Eric July, we're not whoever big, we're not the Comic Gate Kings. It is very difficult for smaller creators to monetize that schoolyard mentality, whereas EVS and whoever else are able to get $500 per every time they do an episode, doing drama casting or whatever else. You're not going to get that. You're not as large. Your audiences aren't as necessarily as large. Some people are, maybe mid-range, but you shouldn't be chasing super chats generated off of drama. You should be, like Randy said, working on your product. Until maybe you get to that point, then maybe you can do the super chats and drama.
Plus, the thing to keep in mind, especially out there, if you're doing this, the platforms are very incredibly fickle. You might make your $500 on your next trash or spite cast or whatever. You're not going to keep making that money for very long. Those, especially when you're talking negativity, you see everybody's numbers. If you go back and look, you're watching everybody's numbers drop because of this so-called spite marketing that's going on out there. We need to stop it, and we need to start talking positively about this whole industry and constructively. That's the big key. You cannot like you cannot like stuff out there, products that are out there, but you need to constructively explain why, instead of just trolling and being negative and poo-pooing all of this stuff. You're not helping anybody that way. And in the long run, all you're doing, especially when you're in an open forum, is breeding apathy. That's what you're doing. You're chasing more people off than you're making. And you might be making money now, but you won't be making money in the long run. And that's really what you need to be looking at. That's just simple business.
I really do think that it turns more people away than what it brings to the table with all of the look at the franchises out there. What's happened to these? How many people don't care anymore about Marvel, about Star Wars, about all of these big franchises, because they've driven people off from their apathy and from their negativity, them screwing around. And my big thing is all of the deconstruction of the superheroes, where everything has to be realistic and everybody has to look realistic at the same time, or they become bad exaggerations and poor quality products that degrade the art form in the industry. I mean, Marvel and DC literally should be ashamed of a half to 3/4 of the product that they're doing, not because of whatever messaging they think or propaganda they think that they're getting out there, but for the fact that they're doing an incredibly substandard product done by people who
don't care.
Quite frankly, don't care, or they care that they're deconstructing this industry, that they're tearing this industry down, and they're doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
especially when they attack these long-running role models and icons that are out there. And a lot of that to me just gets disgusting and terribly uncalled for. These people should be interested in making money and growing their audience, instead of going, oh, we didn't make this for you.
Yeah, I think, in today's market, we get to know more about the creators than we used to. The people about it, right? Mm-hmm. And now more than ever, people are hyper focused on supporting the individual as much as they are the product itself. It's interesting. It's interesting how people respond. It really is. I was going to go to Fund My Comic today and go over some campaigns, but we're running pretty short on time, so we're just going to go ahead and,
that. Yeah,
we're just going to go ahead and close things out today.
Yeah.
Coco Shuko, you said way up in the chat that you were having trouble with shadows. Look out for the book Dynamic Light and Shade by Bern Hogarth, and look for books on sequential art inking. That'll help you a lot on your shadows and your placement of blacks and positioning.
Actually, also I would recommend the Will Eisner book on sequential storytelling, because dude, that's like moody shadow.
Any Eisner book is worth your time.
Yeah.
I got one more book that said a series of books that was particularly for inking shadows. Recommended to me by Rob Willis. And you've all seen his art; it's all very fantastic. He highly recommends Frame Perspective 1 and 2, and then Framed Ink. And I think there's another one in the series. I don't have it with me, but it's somewhere in my
Framed
house.
Ink, I think, is an awesome book. Yeah.
Yeah, and those are fantastic to get. And that will help you as and the other books there as well.
24 Eyes has been saying, look, you need to get dollar stores, Five Belows, mangas in Five Belows. That's they're making product available and reasonably priced. Mm-hmm. Comic books seem to be going up in price and becoming harder to get, less accessible. Mm-hmm. And I think that's part of the problem. And I think that's where we, as indies, make a huge fapoo. We effed up because we think like the mainstream or the corporate comics, and we need to be thinking like manga, not drawing in reverse, but how do you make your work more accessible to people in general?
To a wider audience than
people
you're getting now.
Yeah, people that never bought a comic book are buying manga, right? So it's not that they don't like sequential art. They just don't like all the BS around comic books.
Mm-hmm.
For example, right now, there should be a boom in the underground market, especially Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers ripoff press ought to be out there pushing some of that stuff into the dispensaries. Every dispensary could have a rack like that filled with great entertaining books that people just want to lose themselves in. We don't have to stay in the comic shops, as we're figuring out with crowdfunding, where we're hitting directly to the customer. We have to come up with different ways of appealing to that customer so that we can get them to come in on our campaigns directly. But first, you have to find them, hook them, and reel them in. This is what Eric did. Eric went out. He had a platform that was political. He talked about doing comics for months before he started Ripaverse. He had that audience already built in.
Maybe your hook is price. Maybe your hook is whatever your hook is. And I think for some, drama casting is their hook, but I don't see that. It's not exhausting people.
It's a bitter hook, and it's not going to stick around for long. Yeah, and you're chasing off more people than you're collecting.
It might make me very unpopular to say things like that with a certain group of people. But look, I think we're looking at that pie. If we only look at those are the people that are going to buy my book, then okay, I'm going to feed into their thing and their thing, but I appreciate every super chat I get, but I don't live off of super chats. I live off of stories that I sell. That's what I live off of, right? Off of stories that I draw. My goal is to sell my books and the books of people that I'm working with and those people that are on Fund My Comic, which reminds me, guys, please go buy Fund My Comic. Check it out. We've got some new campaigns live up there. If you do get a chance to grab the February edition of Comics Illustrated, there is an article in there. We didn't have time to read it today, but there is an article in there by about Fund My Comic. Very well written from what I've been able to see so far. I've just saw it a little bit this morning. But go by, check that out. Check out all the other campaigns that we have over there on Fund My Comic. Thank you again. Thank you again for the super chats this morning, for the sponsorship, if you will. Guys, it is
a glass shop. Yes. Not a cannabis shop. What? Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
There is so much garbage that we have to sift through with comic books these days, with everything, and it's only going to get worse right now with the economy. And as the election comes up, they might find a way to make gas prices or groceries cheaper to entice people to, vote one way or the other. But it's only going to become more and more contentious. It started way back when we referenced that article from 2015, which was, white men bad. And it's ridiculous that here we are in 2024, we're still dealing with these things. And we're still doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results for our businesses. That is insane, guys. We've got to find ways to get out there and find new audiences. You can't expect to just stick your book up on a website or send out a super chat or post it on a social media platform and people come by and buy your book now. It doesn't work like that anymore. Maybe you'll get one or two out of a few thousand that'll do that. But I don't think that's really the way to go anymore. We got to get out there and you got to find your niche. You got to find what makes you special to the customer. And let's get out of the mindset that the only way we can tell a story is in a 40-page comic book. I think there's more to it than that.
Stuck in the same size with the same bag with the same board. That was that whole collectible market you're seeing going away.
Mike, I will take you up on that. Thank you, Mike.
Magazines are a thing. Graphic novels are a thing. Look at the old Marvel formats, like the old graphic novel format they had. There's those print-on-demand printers. You can figure out, a good format from them that's different, unusual. You'll stand out if you're different. That they can print even cheaper than what they can a comic, or a standard floppy. So go in and look.
The commitment that all the books that I produce myself are going to be golden age size. Because I like that format.
Yeah.
Look, I like Ethan. I like Eric. I like I like Drunk 3PO. I like Yellow Flash. I like I guess people don't like Kelsey. I like Kelsey. I like these guys. I like what they do. I like all their work. I'm not in the habit of throwing punches for people anymore. I know how quickly these things can evolve and change, and all these people could be friends again in a year. And anything that I would say negative about either one can be used against me. I could become collateral damage. What's important is the people that are here now that watch this show, buy the books that I'm a part of, are supporting Fund My Comic. You guys matter. All of you guys on the back. You guys matter, right? And it's about rising the tide for all of you. And what can we do to make a living at doing what we love? Or at least not go in debt doing what we love, right?
Yeah, that would be nice.
For us. Let's try to do that. Let's try to learn and glean any way we can. Guys, it's been a great show. I do want to thank Eric for being here with us today. My panel of regulars, Randy, great co-host as always. Whiskey and Pedro, thank you again for being here. I want to thank all of the chat today. Thank you for the super chats. Today's sponsor was the Holocron Records. We do thank you. And Mike Has Bad Knees. Thank you today for sponsoring this episode. We do appreciate you very much. It has been a wonderful day. Next week we will have the very talented Chuck Dixon in-house.
All right.
So Chuck will be joining us. We'll have a list of questions for that guy. We'll be learning a lot from him. I am looking forward to that. I can't wait. My goal for the year was to interview Chuck, and we're going to get that done in February. So I can just take a nap the rest of the year. That's it.
Well, if you let me, I want to be there for next week too, because I adore Chuck Dixon, and I would love to be in the same virtual room with him at least.
There you go.
Welcome, MSK. Good to have you here. Great. We've got so many people popping in. It's great.
Great to see you.
Don't forget to check out aerocomics.store. Go by there, check that out. We've got some great things happening with Aerocomics. Also, do not forget to go by fundmycomic.com, and all of the people that sign up for the new fundiverse.com. The first 25 campaigns to launch over there will get a 1% platform fee, guys. 1%. That's a great place for people doing video games, movies, animation, novels, and things like that. Music, that's where you want to go. That'll be the new platform that we're building out for those things so that they have a space. So I do appreciate your help doing that. We want to populate that. And so the first 25 campaigns get a 1% platform fee. We do appreciate that. And so we do look forward to seeing what happens there. Remember, guys, it's so easy to tear down, and we see people doing it. So build up more than you tear down. Leave that wood pile a little bit higher than you found it. And by all means, my friends,
please,
I implore you to please be careful out there. Where's it at? There it is. Let's be careful out there.
Let's be careful out there. Let's be careful out there.